Chapter 337. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for your hard work. The short drama training came to an end. The 6 of them took their luggage and left the colorful campus. Mayasahi walked at the back of the group. Her eyes were fixed on Toru Watanabe, who was discussing what to eat tonight with Miki Kujo. Perhaps it was because of the approaching typhoon, but the setting sun was a gorgeous color. Toru Watanabe's face was faintly glowing. Kun Watanabe, how about we go eat mutton again today? Aoyachiki suggested, her mouth full of saliva. Toru Watanabe turned around. No, that's too repetitive. The goal of the Human Observation Department is to eat all the delicacies in Tokyo. I don't remember setting this goal. As the vice president, I think it's reasonable to set a short-term goal for the club. As the president, I don't think it's reasonable. Then what are my rights as the vice president? Listen to me. And listen to me. Teacher advisor, aren't you going to control them? Students are self-governing. First, he would chat with Rin Kiyono, then Miki Kujo would join in. Sometimes the order would be reversed. He would chat with Miki Kujo first, then Rin Kiyono. From time to time, he would drag Aona Koizumi into the club in the name of asking for help. This was the daily routine for the past few days. Mayasahi kept her eyes on Toru Watanabe. Senpai, look, the tree is full of them. Aoyachiki suddenly shouted. She looked at the huge oak tree. Its lush green leaves were already covered with ribbons. She only looked at it for a second before she looked away and continued to watch Toru Watanabe. He was looking at the oak tree. Let me see. He craned his neck and said, the propaganda of the tea ceremony department, the kendo department and our class. It even says Kun Watanabe fried rice. Someone, don't disappoint all the girls in the school. Rin Kiyono said sarcastically. Are you looking down on the graduates of Yuanyue Academy? If you want to lie, you should make it more realistic, Miki Kujo said casually. You said that Yuanyue Academy is a high school. How could you be a graduate? I said middle school. Mayasahi was different from other people. Ever since she was young, other people's voices had always sounded unreal to her. She existed in this world, but she was separated from this world by a layer. It was as if she had always been in a transparent glass bottle. Her father had a relationship with a young female subordinate in the company. Seeing her mother sad, she knew that she should comfort her, but she couldn't understand her mother's feelings at all. When her parents were about to divorce, they asked her who she wanted to be with. She looked at them and said, Mother. At that time, her mother hugged her tightly, as if she was holding on to all hope, and said a lot of words. While being hugged, she was expressionless. The reason why she chose her mother was because her father did something wrong. She didn't sympathize with her mother, and it wasn't because she loved her mother more. Family love was so thin that it could only occasionally dye the outside of the glass bottle with color, but it was quickly washed away by the rain of time. Nothing could enter the glass bottle. Mayasahi had always been inside. The container that was like her heart had nothing. It was an empty shell. Her father left the family with nothing. She and her mother sold the house in Setagaya district and moved to Shurjo district. She and her mother began to live together. They didn't become closer, and they rarely talked. Not long after, her mother suddenly became happy. She didn't ask why, until her mother said that she wanted to remarry. She asked if she had any opinion. She didn't have any opinion. She was fine with anything. Thus, she had a new father, and her mother had a new husband. Soon the 2 children were born together. Her mother, who would occasionally talk to her, turned her attention to her sister. She lived in this family like an outsider, like the potted plant at the edge of the balcony. She was neither disappointed nor happy. Her parents asked her to go out to eat and play, and she went. Her parents took her sister out to eat and play without telling her. She stayed at home alone to watch TV and read books. These 2 things were the same to her. There was no difference. Mayasahi, who didn't have any attachment to anyone. She was so lonely but not lonely. She was strong but seemed weak. In fact, she lived a good life for 17 years until May 28th last year. It was a sunny day after 2 consecutive rainy days. At noon, Asako Hanada, who often invited her, had lunch together in the corridor on the 5th floor. There were musical instruments and music stands beside her. She was ready to practice after lunch. Toru Watanabe walked over from the teaching building. He was about to pass by here to go to the club building. She didn't notice that it was Asako Hanada who suddenly stood up that made her notice Toru Watanabe's arrival. By the standards of ordinary people, Toru Watanabe was a very handsome boy. Mayasahi wasn't interested in appearance, no in people in anything. She was about to lower her head and continue eating. Senior Hanada, good afternoon. The boy greeted her with a smile. She was about to lower her head when she suddenly stopped. It was a mesmerizing smile. What a nice smile. She couldn't help but think. The glass bottle sank into a colorful dye vat, leaving only the mouth of the bottle outside. The next moment, Toru Watanabe seemed to realize something and quickly stopped smiling. For some reason, the glass bottle sank completely into the vat as if it had sensed something. Colorful colors rushed in from the mouth of the bottle. No, it wasn't a dye vat. It was placed on the balcony. The sun shone on it, and the light warmed the body of the glass bottle. It also reflected rainbow-like colors on the inner wall. It should feel so warm, clean and bright. From then on, the world was no longer indifferent. She, who didn't care about people, had the happiness she wanted. She wanted to understand this boy and absorb all the colors in his soul to fill the empty shell called Mayasahi. The other people's voices were separated by the glass. Only Toru Watanabe's voice could be heard. It was like whispering to the mouth of the bottle. Every sentence, every breath, moistened her heart like mist. She wanted to be with him. Mayasahi wanted to be with Toru Watanabe. Slowly probing and passionately attacking. Before the study trip, she thought that he was going to confess to her. That day, she stood in front of the door of the tram on the way home. The glass reflected her calm face. She looked at this face and imagined the study trip. That was the first time she had fantasized about the future. She closed her eyes and leaned her head against the door of the tram. That calm face of hers raised a faint smile. She gently played with a strand of hair by her ear. But that wasn't the case. Toru Watanabe rejected her and said that she was a despicable person who only wanted money. He strangled her neck with both hands and said that he wanted to kill her. Mayasahi quietly closed her eyes. For the first time, she felt helpless and alone. She didn't blame Toru Watanabe and didn't care what kind of person Toru Watanabe was. At that time, she still longed for the warmth of Toru Watanabe's hands when he strangled her neck. Dinner was already over when she reminisced about this. Mayasahi didn't remember what she ate, but someone seemed to have talked to her. She also couldn't remember how she answered. She probably just said, The only thing she remembered was that when everyone clinked glasses, she clinked her glass with Toru Watanabe's. That was the happiest thing that day, other than Toru Watanabe putting on her sleeves. After they parted in the elevator and left Toru Watanabe, she really entered the night. When she returned to her room, the decorations were very warm. Toru Watanabe bought her nothing less or more. She put her luggage aside and put the roses and script on the table. She bent her knees and sat on the sofa to rest. According to the book, she loved Toru Watanabe, but she couldn't tell if this was love. She didn't care how bad he was to her, as long as he was with her. She didn't care how many girlfriends he had, as long as he was with her. Was loving someone to the extent that one's heart could only be comforted by being with them? The love she saw in books and on TV didn't seem to be like this. Mayasahi hugged her knees and stared at the champagne-colored roses on the table for a long time. She wasn't happy to receive the flowers from him. Was this an expression of love? But when she looked at him, her mood naturally became happy. His even and long breaths. His slender and strong legs. His laughter, which was rare but always left a deep impression, was either light or heavy. He was careless and couldn't tell which words were true and which were false. His footsteps were neither light nor heavy. Every step he took was very steady. It was dry and cool, with messy but stylish hair occasionally. She liked every part of him. She liked everything about him. She had to have him. Mayasahi remained in a bent position and fell on the sofa. He had no family and did not care about his family. It did not matter if his family did not care about him. She didn't have any friends. She didn't care about her friends. It didn't matter if she was neglected by her friends. Toru Watanabe was special to her. He was her everything. She, Mayasahi, was a person who had nothing other than Toru Watanabe, and wanted nothing else. Che. As long as she closed her eyes, every word Toru Watanabe said to her, every touch when he hugged her, would appear in the depths of her heart. She relied on recollections to pass all the time without Toru Watanabe by her side. This was good. She was already very satisfied. After dinner, Toru Watanabe went up to the 6th floor. When he opened the door, the warm lights in the room were on, but he didn't see Mayasahi's figure. Senior? He changed his shoes and walked into the living room. Mayasahi was curled up on the sofa, sleeping peacefully. Toru Watanabe walked softly to the sofa and quietly looked at her sleeping face. Mayasahi's sleeping face was rare. When the two of them were together, if he was awake, she would definitely be awake. Her delicate and pretty face, those thin and soft lips, and the long hair that fell over her shoulders, made her look a little weak. Toru Watanabe sat cross-legged on the floor. His elbows were on his knees, and his palms were on his chin as he looked at her quietly. The weather was still hot. As she slept, small beads of sweat appeared on her forehead. Her bangs stuck to her head, and she looked uncomfortable. Toru Watanabe turned his head to look at the table. He gently took out the script from under the rose and gently fanned her. Although it was weak, the cool and continuous wind made Mayasahi fall back into a deep sleep. Mayasahi's long eyelashes trembled as she made a small nasal sound, and slowly opened her eyes. You're awake? Toru Watanabe chuckled. Che. Mayasahi sat up. When did he come? Not long, about half an hour. Toru Watanabe didn't look at his watch and said uncertainly. Why didn't you wake me up? Why should I wake you up? What's the matter? I want to stay with Che for a while longer. Sleeping is a waste. Mayasahi slid out of bed and sat on Toru Watanabe's lap. She put her hands on his shoulders. Looking at Mayasahi, who said these words in a flat tone, Toru Watanabe's heart was filled with all kinds of emotions. These emotions intertwined and converged into an unwavering belief. He must give Mai a happy future. Toru Watanabe put down the script, opened his arms, and hugged Mayasahi's waist. There's still a long time. We have a lot of half an hour. And for me, it's a pleasure to watch you sleep. Let me be willful with you occasionally. Mayasahi stared at Toru Watanabe. The two kissed. It was a very short kiss. It's so warm. Mayasahi whispered the feeling of the kiss. It's so warm. Toru Watanabe kissed her again. The two hugged each other tightly. They were entwined together like a silk thread. If he wanted to untie this thread, he had to cut it directly. Monday, the 57th Cultural Festival in Kamigawa. I saw on TV this morning that a typhoon is coming. No way? Must it be at this time? But it seems like there won't be any problems today. It won't land until evening. I hope it'll be over in one night. What about the stalls outside? Put them away after school. Whether we can do it tomorrow depends on whether the typhoon has left or what the school wants. The students who came earlier than usual discussed the typhoon while preparing for the opening of the store. Our play is on the second day. What if the typhoon comes and we can't perform? It's rare that we rehearse for so long. In front of the blackboard, Aoyachiki said worriedly. Do what you should do and what you can do. Don't worry about the rest. Rin Kiyono wrote the slogan and the menu on the blackboard. Miki Kujo drew pictures of the dishes on the blackboard. This was the content of the two girls' class activities. At this time, the second-year class 4 had been set up as a dining hall. It was near the window in the atrium, and the tables were put together to form a recess. The guests came in, ordered at the podium, and sat down in the numbered seats. The students on the podium would send the orders and the numbers to the dining area. When the chefs were ready, the boys and girls who acted as waiters, dressed in maid outfits, would bring the dishes to the table. The drinks were bought from the supermarket and were sold separately. They were charged 50 yuan per cup. The 5 chefs on duty for the first round and 3 helpers were already in the cooking area. Kun Watanabe, if you need any ingredients, just tell me. Thank you, Kimura classmate. Are you ready? We're about to let the guests in. The student in charge of receiving the guests at the door shouted. Yes. The female class monitor also shouted back. The first batch of guests were mostly girls, with only a few boys. What do you need? There's a menu on the blackboard, Aoyachiki, who was in charge of the cashier, said. Oh right, Kun Watanabe is responsible for fried rice. What's this black thing? Soy sauce fried rice. Soy sauce? Let's go with mushroom fried rice. Okay, 1 serving of mushroom fried rice. What do you need to drink? Water is free and wheat tea is 50 yuan per cup, wheat tea. In order to let everyone try all kinds of delicious food, the amount of fried rice is very small. Do you want to add fried noodles or grilled sausages? No, I just want to eat Kun Watanabe's fried rice. Okay. Another student handed the order to the helper, and the helper brought it to Toru Watanabe. Toru Watanabe picked up the egg and cracked it with one hand. The egg yolk exploded in the pot, and then he added in the sausage, corn, rice, and mushroom. He kept stir-frying until steam came out of the pot, and the rice jumped in the pot, and then he drizzled the color of the soy sauce. Finally, he switched to high heat and fiercely stir-fried. The fried rice and the ingredients were distinct, and they poured down like a waterfall from the sky. Wow. Kun Watanabe is so handsome. The female staff in the class and the female guests all took out their phones to take pictures. Finally, he sprinkled chopped green onions, and after smelling the green onions, he turned the table. Sorry for the hospitality. Toru Watanabe showed the bright color of the mushroom fried rice with golden eggs and green onions. The cultural festival had begun. Chapter 338. The weather was still fine, and a gust of wind occasionally blew through the blue sky. The calligraphy department's large banner, Kamigawa Festival, made a rustling sound. In the gymnasium, the stick dance department was performing on stage, and the wind department was preparing behind the scenes. The wind department had more than 100 members, but only 80 came this time, led by the department head, Keiru Hayami. Did you hear? Heard what? The girls holding all kinds of instruments whispered to each other. I'm talking about Tamamo becoming the next department head. Yoshimi Tamamo from the trombone department. She's the only one in the wind department with the surname Tamamo. Why should she be the next department head? Are you talking about that rumor? Rumor? It hasn't been confirmed yet? I heard from the third-year seniors that Zaoki-senpai is still considering. Why her? It's said that Zaoki-senpai went to the human observation department, and after she came back, she began to consider Tamamo. Human observation department? Is it Kiyono classmates' opinion? No. The girl with the flute lowered her voice. It's Kun Watanabe. Are you kidding me? Yeah. Aren't they on bad terms? Tamamo often talks bad about Kun Watanabe. By the way, isn't it too early to start thinking about the next department head? There's still the national competition. The third years of the other clubs will withdraw after the cultural festival. Maybe it's because of this, so our department head is thinking about these things in advance. The best way to keep a secret was to not tell anyone. The news quickly spread to Yoshimi Tamamo's trombone department. The girls in the wind department who were close to Yoshimi Tamamo secretly asked her if this was true. Yoshimi Tamamo had no clue. Toru Watanabe didn't tell her, and Keiru Hayami didn't talk to her. Welcome to the performance of the wind department. Last month, we got the qualification to enter the national competition. Next month, we will try to bring back good news from Nagoya. After the performance, Yoshimi Tamamo found an excuse to separate from her friends, and went to the second-year class for alone. She just wanted to talk to Toru Watanabe, but she couldn't get in. There was a long line in front of the classroom. In order to let the guests have a good dining environment, the number of people was limited, and curtains were used to cover the glass to block the outside. He was caught in a dilemma of whether to wait or not. Beautiful? Tamamo no Mami looked over, and saw that it was a boy from her class. Are you here? Do you want me to give you my seat? No need. After rejecting the boy, Tamamo walked to the back of the group. Just treat it as lunch. She put on her headphones and listened to Chang Zhao's music to pass the time. When it was finally her turn, she heard a familiar voice as soon as she walked in. Sorry for the inconvenience. She pursed her lips and walked to the podium. Welcome. It's beautiful. Aoi Ichiki greeted her happily. Kwai. Yoshimi Tamamo took off one of her headphones. Are you the cashier? Aoi Ichiki struggled to lift up a metal box that was originally used to store biscuits. See? It's all money. There are so many customers. Thanks to Koen Watanabe. Do you want some fried rice? As a friend, I can give you half price. No need. Fried noodles. Yoshimi Tamamo sat in the freshly cleaned seat and looked at Toru Watanabe in the cooking area. She realized that she had waited in line for nothing. How could she talk to him with so many people? Customer, your fried noodles and tea. Thank you. Yoshimi Tamamo looked at the boy in front of her who was wearing a maid outfit and pretending to be elegant. She didn't hide her disgust at all. It's noon, it's time to change shifts. Thank you for your hard work. A new group of students entered the cooking area and replaced Toru Watanabe and the others who had been busy all morning. No, I haven't eaten Koen Watanabe's fried rice yet. It's my turn. Sorry, please come back tomorrow afternoon. Seeing Toru Watanabe take off his apron and prepare to leave the classroom with Aoi Ichiki, Yoshimi Tamamo didn't like the fried noodles anymore and hurriedly followed them. After leaving the classroom, she stopped the two in the hallway. Beautiful? Aoi Ichiki looked at her in confusion. She was supposed to be eating. Kwai, can I talk to Watanabe alone for a while? Yoshimi Tamamo requested. Sure. Aoi Ichiki turned to Toru Watanabe and said, Koen Watanabe, I'll be going first. After watching Aoi Ichiki leave, Toru Watanabe asked Yoshimi Tamamo, why are you looking for me? If you want to borrow money, you have to write an IOU. Who wants to borrow money? Yoshimi Tamamo subconsciously retorted. She looked around and said, follow me. In order to avoid the crowd, Toru Watanabe followed Yoshimi Tamamo to the stairs that led to the rooftop on the 5th floor. The door to the rooftop was locked with a rusty iron lock. Unlike the scenes in anime where people often ate lunch on the rooftop, in reality, the rooftop wasn't a comfortable place. It was hot in the summer and cold in the winter. Most importantly, the school wouldn't open it to students. Apart from students who wanted to do bad things in school, no one would go to such a place. He even deliberately put his hands behind his head and slept on the dirty floor. What are you planning? Why did you recommend me to be the head? Yoshimi Tamamo asked in a questioning tone. Because you're talented. Do you mean that I have to work hard to be able to join Group A? Or that I have to attend the summer tutoring because my grades are at the bottom? Yoshimi Tamamo's face suddenly came up, and she poked Toru Watanabe's chest with her finger. Toru Watanabe leaned back slightly to avoid physical contact. There are people downstairs. If you act recklessly, I'll call for help, he said. Yoshimi Tamamo didn't panic at all. She unbuttoned her shirt and threatened him. If you don't explain yourself, I'll call you a pervert. Toru Watanabe's gaze turned to the bottom of the stairs where the 100-man team was setting up a challenge. A few days ago, I saw you practicing alone in the corner of the school. When my senior sister came to ask about it, I recommended you. You peeked at my chest at that time, didn't you? Peeked, forget it. Toru Watanabe was too lazy to ask how many misunderstandings there were. I only recommended you to be the head. Why do you care so much? You want to see me make a fool of myself. Yoshimi Tamamo had a look of certainty. Idiot. Toru Watanabe didn't hold back. What did you say? I said it's because you're talented. What do you mean? Yoshimi Tamamo still looked like she was pestering him endlessly, but she was still human. Deep down, she secretly looked forward to Toru Watanabe's answer. Work hard. Work hard counts as talent. Of course it counts. Toru Watanabe explained. In this world, there are many things that can be done as long as you work hard. You can get into a good school and get a stable and high-paying job. It's not that easy. Yeah, it's not easy. People who can do these things are envied by most people. Why? Because it's not easy. Yoshimi Tamamo glanced at Toru Watanabe with a look that said, do you even need to ask? But she realized that he wasn't looking at her. She looked down at her chest. It was white and round, and it made people salivate just by looking at it. Hypocrite. She muttered in a low voice and buttoned up her shirt. Toru Watanabe ignored her muttering and didn't care about her actions. He said, "For most people, these things can be done as long as they work hard. But the seemingly simple work isn't something that everyone can do. It's a talent that can be obtained at any time, but there are very, very few people who can obtain it. You are one of the few who have it. There are many people who work hard in the playing department. Why me?" Yoshimi Tamamo played with her hair with her fingers, secretly delighted. "Because I want to see what you will become." "What do you mean? You really want to see me make a fool of myself?" "If possible, I hope that you can rely on your hard work and talent to become the center of attention, not just relying on your appearance." Toru Watanabe retracted his gaze from the 100 people in the playing department and looked straight at Yoshimi Tamamo. "Haven't you been doing the same?" "None of your business." Yoshimi Tamamo's tone suddenly became fierce, but even the typhoon that hadn't arrived yet could hear her bluff. After a moment of silence, just as Toru Watanabe was about to end the conversation, she asked fiercely, "What should a department head do?" "If you," Toru Watanabe didn't mind her tone. "First, remember the names of the 100 or so people in the playing department." This was completely different from the department head that Yoshimi Tamamo had imagined. But just as she was about to retort, she realized that she really didn't know that many people. Not to mention a playing department with more than 100 people, she didn't even know the full names of the boys and girls in a class of 40 people. This had nothing to do with memory. The key was whether or not she cared. Unable to retort, she changed the topic. Yoshimi Tamamo said mockingly, "You're the same age as me, but you think you're infallible and say a lot of things. It's not really about things. It's just a summary of life. And whether you're old or young isn't important. What's important is what you've experienced." Yoshimi Tamamo pouted, then reached out her hand and said reluctantly, "Let's make up." In order to avoid school rules as much as possible, her fair hands were painted with light nail polish. "I already have a girlfriend. There's no need to shake hands." "Tisk." Yoshimi Tamamo immediately retracted her hand. "Don't talk like you're a devoted man. It's disgusting. Also, if you don't make up with Haomei, don't blame Haomei for saying bad things about you. As long as she doesn't say that I molested you. I'm going to rehearse a play. You do your best. Goodbye." Toru Watanabe waved his hand and turned to leave the stairs. After watching Toru Watanabe disappear, Yoshimi Tamamo took out a small mirror from her pleated skirt pocket and fixed her bangs and makeup, making sure that she looked the most beautiful in front of her classmates. "Because you're talented." She looked at herself in the mirror. She had bright and lively eyes and a delicate face. She was so beautiful. Department head. Her shoulders suddenly became heavy. She took a deep breath. Along with the pressure came anticipation for the future. Her blood began to surge, and she had the urge to do something immediately. "Okay. First, I'll remember the names of more than 100 people in the department." Yoshimi Tamamo closed the mirror and walked briskly down the stairs. "What did you say?" As soon as Toru Watanabe entered the club classroom, Miki Kujo, who was casually reading a script, asked. Aoi Ichiki, who had arrived early, had already told her the reason why he was late. "I told her that hard work is also talent. She needs to have confidence in herself." Miki Kujo looked up and looked at him. "You're quite gentle." "I have no interest in her at all. I don't have any ulterior motives." Toru Watanabe walked over and sat down. "Has the next department head been decided?" Aoi Ichiki asked doubtfully. "Isn't Zomi-senpai still thinking about it?" This was going to be difficult. Toru Watanabe suddenly realized that he seemed to have said too much just now. If that was the case, it would be impossible not to let Yoshimi Tamamo become the department head. Thinking about it carefully, it wasn't a bad idea to let her become the department head. Looking at her just now, the future would probably develop in a positive direction. At least for now. This was enough. Let's start practicing. Rin Kiyono wasn't interested in these things. For the next day's performance, the 6 people practiced seriously all afternoon. Fortunately, the cultural festival lasted for 3 days. After tomorrow's performance, there was still time to walk around. Toru Watanabe had already decided to go to the Go department and win the title of Dragon King of Kamigawa that he didn't get last year. This had nothing to do with losing 200 points last year. The wind outside seems to be getting stronger. In the evening, Aoi Ichiki leaned against the window and looked at the sky. At dusk yesterday, Tokyo's sky was a rare purplish red, but today was as usual, but the wind was very strong. The school sent a message. Aona Koizumi held her phone in her hand, informing the teachers to organize the students to end the cultural festival and leave school early. Then let's call it a day. Rin Kiyono put down her script and rubbed between her eyebrows tiredly. Her fair and beautiful face was slightly delicate, so beautiful that people couldn't help but think, how can someone be so beautiful? Everyone be careful on the road. Watanabe Mayasahi, wait for me in the office. I'll send you back. Aona Koizumi finished her words and left the club to inform the other students. The remaining 5 people packed up and left the club. Aoi Ichiki went to find her friends who usually went home with her. Rin Kiyono went to change her club key and went to the office with Mayasahi. Toru Watanabe sent Miki Kujo to the school gate. The first floor was crowded with people. Many students who had received the news in advance and changed their shoes to prepare to leave crowded there. The wind outside was strong. When Toru Watanabe and the others went downstairs, the sky had unknowingly turned gloomy and dark. A few boys rushed out in one breath. Their clothes stuck to their bodies, and their neckties flew up. No. Cough, cough, cough. They couldn't even speak in the wind. They retreated again. What do we do? If we don't leave now, we won't be able to leave later. We don't know how long the typhoon will last. It's fine if it ends before 10 o'clock. Don't worry. Toru Watanabe and Miki Kujo stood at the back of the crowd. Can a car drive in? Toru Watanabe asked. Miki Kujo took out her phone. Her hand was slender and well-proportioned, but it was a girl's hand after all. It wasn't big, which made the phone even bigger. Just as she was about to make a call, an announcement came from the radio. There was no opening speech. The person on the radio said directly, "Students who have not left the school are forbidden to leave. Please proceed to the gymnasium in an orderly manner." The announcement was repeated 3 times. As soon as the radio disappeared, the physical education teacher and a few other teachers came over and closed the glass door. The howling wind instantly became distant. Go to the gymnasium immediately. Take the passageway on the 2nd floor. Open windows and go out are forbidden, the teachers said loudly. The students changed into indoor shoes in an orderly manner. They weren't afraid. Instead, they talked excitedly and walked towards the gymnasium. Go back or stay? Toru Watanabe asked Miki Kujo. The wind was strong now, but it couldn't do anything to Miki Kujo's modified car. Forget it, Miki Kujo said lazily. The civilians will stay to take shelter. I'll stay to pretend. In front of the public, it's necessary to maintain equality. Besides, it's not a big deal. Staying by my side is the best choice, Toru Watanabe said. Even if we die together? You don't want me to live alone. Miki Kujo turned to ask him. That's not bad. The two of them walked towards the gymnasium. Miki Kujo used her phone to tell the driver to go back. In the hallway, the student council, the disciplinary committee, and the cultural festival executive committee were maintaining order. Before they reached the gymnasium, the strong wind brought down bean-sized raindrops. Separated by the hallway windows, the loud sound of rain and wind made it feel like the school building was being pulled away. The students in the hallway were even more excited. The sound of laughter, the sound of running in the hallway, and the sound of shouting. The rain hit the classroom's glass windows and flowed down like a waterfall. These noises in the dark and enclosed campus were like the roar of the sea, rising and falling one after another. Looking into the distance, the oak trees were swaying in the wind and rain. The leaves were like messy grass, uniformly falling in one direction. Most of the promotional banners for the cultural festival had already disappeared. Only a few of them were stuck in the branches, floating around like ghosts. This scene quickly disappeared. The rain was getting heavier. Looking out the window, one could only see rain and fog. The scenery outside was almost indistinguishable, hidden in the rain. Everything in the world seemed to be holding its breath in this storm. There was only the sound of the windows creaking and the wind whistling through the hallway on the first floor, making a sharp sound. This is the first time I've seen such a huge typhoon. I hope there won't be a power outage, Toru Watanabe said. Where's your Teru Bozu? Miki Kujo glanced at him. You want such a huge typhoon to suddenly disappear? The two of them chatted as they walked into the gymnasium. The hallway on the second floor led to the second floor of the gymnasium. There was an indoor tennis table, and other equipment here. Then they went downstairs and arrived at the crowded basketball court. First grade, class 1. Over here. Third grade, class 3, gather here. Everyone keep quiet. We'll start taking roll call now. Answer when your name is called. The teachers tried their best to maintain order. When the two of them arrived at second grade, class 4, Aona Koizumi and Rin Kiyono were already there. Mayasahi was also there. Are you okay? Aona Koizumi asked the two of them. I'm fine. How about you, teacher? Toru Watanabe asked. I'm fine too. Hey, everyone please keep quiet. The principal appeared on the stage with a microphone. The school received news that due to the typhoon, the main force line and Otakyu line have been suspended. The Chua line and Yamanote line's power lines have been cut due to the typhoon, so the trolleys can't be operated either. In addition, the Keio line and Higashi line have been suspended as well. There was a flurry of discussion below. That's why tonight everyone must stay at the school to take shelter. We've already notified your parents, so you can contact your parents on your own. Only a few students were afraid when they heard this news. Most of them were excited. The school has prepared resources specifically for taking shelter. We'll distribute them later. The Student Council, the Cultural Festival Executive Committee, and the class monitors brought many things over. There was water, biscuits, and beds. Since there were so many people, there were no blankets unless two people slept on the same bed. After distributing the resources, everyone squeezed onto the beds. Aona Koizumi and Huangzi, Rin Kiyono and Mayasahi sat together. Toru Watanabe and Miki Kujo sat together. The Student Council President, who was also the Cultural Festival Executive Committee member, appeared on the stage with a microphone. Everyone, since you're staying at the school, then the cultural festival isn't over yet. Next, until 10 p.m., we'll arrange for the choir, chess, flute, stick, kendo, social dance, hip-hop, debate, light music, magic, and falling speech departments to perform on stage for everyone. That's great. This is just like watching a show. There's no sense of taking shelter at all. Why isn't there a film studies department? We want to show our own movies. Also, the Student Council President didn't finish. If any other clubs or classes want to perform on stage, please use your cell phone to contact the executive committee member of your class. After receiving permission, we'll inform you of the time to perform on stage. I want to sign up. I remember that you're from the Supernatural Phenomenon Research Club, right? What are you going to perform? And you're not even a club. I want to sign up for the debate department. I want to sign up for the zither department. Minister. Forget it. There's so many people. I can't even remember how to pluck the zither. The Human Observation Department was also discussing. Should we sign up? Aoyachiki asked. There's no entrance fee. You'll lose all your money. Toru Watanabe reminded her. That's right. Aoyachiki reacted. No. Rin Kiyono glanced at Toru Watanabe, then said to Aoyachiki. It's still uncertain whether the cultural festival will continue tomorrow. In order to not let all our hard work go to waste, it's best to perform now. Aoyachiki thought for a moment, then nodded with difficulty. Alright, I've already eaten a lot anyway. Watanabe-san, contact Sanaya Mizami, Rin Kiyono said. Why do I have her contact information? I'll do it. Aoyachiki took out her phone, then buried her head in a message. After a while she looked up. Okay, I almost didn't make it. The line is almost full. We're the last one. After waiting for a while, the announcement came in the midst of the storm. Choir performance, 3-string flower. The curtains on the stage slowly opened, and the choir lined up neatly. As soon as the song started, many people followed along to the beat. When the song got to the past clearly appears in front of my eyes. Those were the days I lived with you. Everyone couldn't help but sing along. The awakened longing continues. The strength of 1,000 people overshadowed even the storm. Thank you to the choir. Next is the shogi department. Everyone can go on stage to challenge. The challenge fee is 200 yen, and the winner can take all the money. Oh right, 3 seconds for a move. Why can the shogi department accept money? Aoyachiki said unhappily. Want to try? How is the shogi department going to perform? No one can see. While everyone was puzzled, the lights in the gymnasium dimmed, and a projection appeared on the stage. The head of the shogi department was kneeling behind a chessboard, waiting for someone to challenge her. She looked quite gentle, but there was a wooden sign next to her that read, Battle for the Dragon King. Kamigawa's strongest. Invincible. Supreme. Looks interesting. Is anyone going up? This is a good chance to show off in front of the whole school. How many girls know shogi? Do you think it's baseball? It's fine as long as you win. Don't worry about the rules. Win. The head of the shogi department is said to be a professional Go player. She's called the Ponytail One-Handed Girl. What's that nickname? That's the nickname she got when she won the celebrity tournament for elementary school students. At that time, she had a really long ponytail, but she cut it later. On the other side, Toru Watanabe clenched his fists. You want to go up? Miki Kujo asked. The title of Kamigawa's strongest has to belong to me. Rin Kiyono, who was sitting next to Toru Watanabe, moved her legs slightly to make room for him. Wait, the money isn't enough yet. The momentum isn't ready yet. I want to take revenge for last year with a thunderous momentum. Rin Kiyono rolled her eyes at him. Chapter 339. In the end, Toru Watanabe did not go up. When Miki Kujo asked him the reason, he said that he did not want to be number one in everything. You just don't think the money is enough. Rin Kiyono exposed him. Miki Kujo don't believe her. It's fine if you don't go up. As Kujo's son-in-law, there is no need to argue with these people. Miki Kujo had a sense of superiority. We don't know whose son-in-law he is yet. Rin Kiyono reminded her. There are too many people here. Shoo. Toru Watanabe quickly stopped the signs of a fight. While the two cute girls from the Luyu section were performing their crosstalk in a very awkward manner, the 6 members of World's End and the Grim Wonderland arrived at the 2nd floor of the gymnasium. Please hurry up and change your clothes. There are still 20 minutes before you go up on stage. Rin Kiyono sternly instructed. Rin Kiyono was only speaking to Toru Watanabe and the others. However, everyone backstage was listening quietly. The girls entered the changing room. Toru Watanabe and Aoyachiki temporarily waited outside. Kun Watanabe, it's about to start. Where are you going? Aoyachiki looked at Toru Watanabe, who was walking away. I'll be right back. Toru Watanabe looked for Kaoru Hayami, who was still backstage. The blowing section needed to provide music for many clubs. Good morning, senpai. Toru Watanabe found her among a group of girls who were peeking at the Luyu section's performance. Ah, Kun Watanabe. Kaoru Hayami was shocked. What's the matter? Toru Watanabe looked at the girls who were peeking at him and said, Let's go somewhere else. Oh, okay. Kaoru Hayami was a little confused. The two of them arrived at the staircase between the 1st and 2nd floors. I'm very sorry, Toru Watanabe said. It's about Yoshimi Tamamo. Beautiful? What happened? Today, she came to find me to explain why I recommended her, but as we talked, she asked me what I should do as a department head, and I said, remember the names of everyone in the wind department. And then? Kaoru Hayami asked softly. He couldn't tell if her personality was gentle, or not because her voice was very gentle. When I said that, didn't I mean that the next minister would definitely be you? Kaoru Hayami tapped his cheek with his finger and pondered. Indeed, most people would understand it that way. So. Kaoru Hayami tilted his head and looked at him. So? Kaoru Hayami tilted his head in another direction. Toru Watanabe didn't know that Kaoru Hayami had such a playful side to him. She liked him? It was very convenient to use someone who liked you. You could get them to help you with just a few words. Toru Watanabe originally planned to beg him, but now he changed his mind and chose a way that would keep them apart. If you can make Yoshimi Tamamo the department head, I will continue to guide the wind department in the coming year. As for Kiyono, I will do my best to get her to help, turning a request into a deal. Kaoru Hayami had no idea that Toru Watanabe was thinking so much in that short moment. Okay. Thank you. You're welcome. We were the only 2 members of the wind department, Kaoru Hayami said with a smile. Is that so? I forgot. Ugh, I need to reconsider the department head position. Tetsumasa Watanabe was about to say something when there was a sudden clap of thunder, and the lights in the stadium flickered a few times. Ah. Kaoru Hayami was shocked. Let's go back. Okay. The 2 returned to the second floor. Aoi Ichiki was gone, and Aona Koizumi waved for Toru Watanabe to come in. Everyone had already changed their clothes. Hurry up, Rin Kiyono said to him. Toru Watanabe took his clothes into a small cubicle and changed into the polite demon suit. Miki Kujo glanced at him, walked in front of him and helped him fix his collar. Because he was a demon, his collar was slightly wastrel. You think you're casual, but you're casual like this? Miki Kujo mocked Toru Watanabe's taste as she fixed his shirt. It's almost done. Miki Kujo raised her hand and slapped Toru Watanabe's hand away. Toru Watanabe obediently stayed there and let her fix his collar. Human Observation Department, it's almost your turn. A girl from the executive committee poked her head in and said, It's about to start. Aoi Ichiki's face was pale, and her voice was trembling. The sound of her heartbeat was getting louder and louder. Although she had experience in the wind department, that was with 55 people, so there was a limit to how nervous she could be. But in a play, there were at most 3 people on stage at the same time. And there was even time for her monologue. The more she thought about it, the more blank her mind became. What was the first line again? What was the expression? What was the psychology of the characters? Aona Koizumi forced a smile. She was also very nervous. Rin Kiyono looked at the 2 of them and said, No matter how many people there are in the audience, you just have to think about your own limits. After so many days of hard work, no matter what, you have to leave an impression on the audience after this play ends. Yes. All right. Toru Watanabe's heart was also pounding. Now that things had come to this, how could a man run away? Now he had no choice but to cut off all means of retreat. No matter what the outcome would be, he had to work hard to have the hope of getting the life he wanted. Toru Watanabe took a deep breath, and his heartbeat gradually stabilized. After the stage was set up, Miki Kujo was ready. Next up is a play from the Human Observation Department, World's End and the Grim Wonderland. Please enjoy. A storm raged, lightning flashed, and thunder rumbled. The curtain leading to the end of the world slowly opened. This was the story of a young girl who searched for the immortal realm, but was abandoned by it. The young girl packed her luggage while humming a song. She was in a very good mood. The spotlight shone on her. Unlike her usual elegance, she looked adorable and likable. The audience couldn't help but exclaim, Miki Kujo was just that beautiful. Most of the time, even a simple frown or smile was mesmerizing. Unfortunately, although she wasn't a cold and expressionless person, her sincere smile was almost only for Toru Watanabe. Good morning, young girl. Toru Watanabe walked onto the stage. The audience instantly cheered. Toru Watanabe wasn't just popular with the girls. Although he didn't sit with the baseball team, he had a good relationship with the boys. Good morning, Mr. Devil, the young girl greeted him briskly. Luggage. The devil glanced at the cloth bag on the table. Are you going somewhere far? I'm going to find the end of the world and break up with you. The audience burst into laughter. This wasn't a line from the script. Rin Kiyono crossed her arms behind the scenes, and her beautiful eyebrows furrowed beautifully. Toru Watanabe didn't hesitate or be surprised. No one in this world can resist my charm. No matter where your body goes, I will always be in your heart. The boys hissed while the girls nodded. Mr. Devil. Miki Kujo stepped forward and buttoned up Toru Watanabe's collar. The place I want to go is the end of the world. The end of the world? That is indeed a place that I cannot reach. However, can you find it? Even I, a devil, do not know where it is. I have a map. The young girl smugly pulled out a folded parchment from her lapel. Goodbye, Mr. Devil. The devil looked at the map and silently watched the young girl leave. Then he took off the hat on his head and placed it in front of his chest. I will always be with you. The devil then left the stage. The curtain slowly closed and the support staff hurriedly began setting up new props. A voiceover that Toru Watanabe had recorded in advance came from the broadcast. The young girl left the town where she grew up and followed the first instruction on the map. Drink the fountain of forgetting your wish. If she can recall everything about herself, she will be able to meet the witch. The witch holds the secret to the end of the world. After experiencing a complete 4 seasons, the young girl remembered her wish to go to the end of the world. It was at that moment that the witch appeared before her. Toru Watanabe's voice was unhurried and pleasant to listen to. Images naturally appeared in the minds of the audience, as if they were witnessing the young girl's experiences during this time. The curtains opened. The scene was no longer a house. Instead, it was a forest filled with the sounds of birds. Within the forest, the spring sun was shining brightly. Rabbits were grooming wolves while birds were cleaning snakes' teeth. The witch was sitting on a tree root, reading a thick book in her hands. Wow, it's Koizumi-sensei. This witch outfit is so suitable. It's just that it's not that sinister. For someone familiar to suddenly play a role in a play, the contrast between the two was quite amusing. There was also Toru Watanabe and Miki Kujo. The two of them were usually together, and they acted as if they were dating on stage. It was also quite amusing for the audience. At that moment, the young girl who had just left the stage reappeared on stage. Hello, are you a witch? Yes. The witch's gaze left the book and looked at the young girl. After a short conversation, the witch disappeared, leaving the young girl alone in the forest. Empathize with the devil. Empathize with each other? The young girl looked at everything in the forest with a confused expression. She then left the forest and continued walking in the direction her heart was guiding her. The scene changed to a shrine, where the witch was cleaning the ginseng path. What a beautiful witch. What year is she? I don't know, I've never seen her before. It's my Asahi-sensei. It's perfect for a witch outfit. It's so beautiful. The young girl walked up the stage and asked the witch about the world's end. I can tell you. Ha! The young girl was so surprised that she couldn't say anything. The witch was too straightforward. Do you have any conditions? She hurriedly asked. The witch shook her head expressionlessly. But the young girl hesitated. I drank the forgotten wish spring water and recalled everything. After passing the test, the witch told me the secret she knew. Do I really not need to do anything for you? The witch shook her head again. Why? The young girl didn't understand. Because she already obtained everything she wanted. The demon appeared again. When the demon reached the young girl, Miki Kujo reached out her hand to fix his collar, which had changed back to a casual one, and tidied it up again. The audience below laughed. Every time they met, the young girl would fix the demon's collar. Did she go to the world's end so that she wouldn't have to see the demon's collar again? Everyone was in high spirits as they discussed animatedly. For a moment, they neglected the apocalyptic gale outside the house. Young girl, I like to be comfortable. Toru Watanabe reached out to stop her. Slap. Kujio Miyoshi slapped his hand away and continued to tidy up his collar. Ahahaha. The audience below laughed. While fixing the demon's collar, the young girl asked, You obtained everything you wanted? Just like the witch, this witch here had once made a deal with me. After fixing the demon's collar, the young girl turned to ask the witch. May I ask, what did you gain from the demon and what did you lose? Feelings. Divinity. Feelings. Divinity. Every emotion except love. My divinity. The young girl still didn't understand what the witch was talking about, so she turned to look at the demon standing next to her and spoke with a gentle yet commanding tone. Explain it to me. The audience below laughed again. Actually, the young girl and the demon were husband and wife. The young girl ran away from home out of anger. And the demon came to persuade her to return? Is this how Kujo classmate and Koen Watanabe normally get along? I'm so jealous. Watch your tone, young girl. The demon reminded her, then explained. She is a witch, deeply in love with a divinity, but she has never seen one before. And then? And then she made a deal with me, using every emotion except love to exchange for the method to communicate with a divinity from me. Exchanging the method to communicate with a divinity from a demon. The young girl was shocked and muttered to herself. She couldn't believe that such a ridiculous thing could happen in this world. Why did you do that? The young girl asked the witch. If you truly love a divinity, you absolutely cannot make a deal with a demon. The witch tilted her head with a blank expression. As someone who had lost all her emotions, she could only use such an action to express her confusion. Why? A divinity will never fall in love with someone who has made a deal with a demon. Why? Because demons are bad, divinities are good, and they are enemies. Hey, I'm still here. Despite saying that, the demon didn't seem to care about the young girl's evaluation at all. I don't need a divinity to love me. The witch's expression was calm. I don't care what a divinity thinks. I don't care what a divinity thinks. I don't care what a divinity thinks. I only want to talk to a divinity from time to time, even if it's an angry reprimand. The young girl stared blankly at the witch in front of her. The audience was also shocked by such a plot. You lost all your emotions. You lost the favor of a divinity. Don't you regret it? The young girl couldn't help but ask. The witch tilted her head again and looked at the young girl with a confused expression. She couldn't even remember what regret was anymore. The young girl was speechless for a long time. After receiving a hint from the witch, she silently left the shrine. Making a deal with a demon, not caring what a divinity thinks, only wanting to be together with a divinity. Is this a goddess of love, or not? The young girl carried her doubts as she once again embarked on her journey to find the end of the world. On her third trip, the young girl met a female knight. This seemingly valiant knight had also made a deal with a demon before. In order to protect a kingdom that was about to be destroyed, I obtained power from a demon. But the kingdom worships fairies. Is it really okay to use a demon's power to protect it? The young girl asked. I didn't think so much at the time. This young female knight scratched her head in embarrassment. After resolving the kingdom's predicament, I intended to leave this place, but everyone forgave me. It was because of everyone's trust that I was able to resist the temptation to continue making deals with demons. Right, the female knight said. I don't know how to reach the end of the world, but you can ask a fairy. A fairy? Yes. The female knight nodded. But to meet a fairy, you must fulfill certain conditions. Only those who fulfill these conditions can go to the fairyland. What are the specific conditions? What are they? I'm not sure. It has been a long time since anyone in the kingdom was able to go to the fairyland. I can take you there to try. Thank you. The young girl followed the female knight into the depths of the kingdom. Such a sacred and secret place. Yet the kingdom is still open to those who have made deals with demons. The young girl muttered to herself. A kingdom that worships a fairy and survives by relying on a demon's power. The people trust and accept her. As the young girl spoke, the two of them left the stage. The curtains slowly lifted. Which knight? The young girl has reached the end of the map. Toru Watanabe spoke in a low and gentle voice. Will she be able to meet a fairy? Where is the end of the world? After the narration ended, the curtains slowly lifted. Everyone waited with bated breath, wanting to see what would happen next. A beautiful, pure, and perfect fairy appeared on the stage. She was so beautiful that even the wind would hold its breath. Chapter 340. Everyone held their breaths, silently admiring the figure on the stage. The fairy was strolling in her own garden, her clothes fluttering in the wind. The stage seemed to have truly become a fairyland. Who broke into my garden? She suddenly spoke to the back of the curtain. Her cold and transparent voice was still exceptionally beautiful, and moving amidst the howling of the wind. The lights on the stage dimmed, leaving only two spotlights. One shone on the fairy's body, her white dress, transparent skin, and even her hair shone with light. The other shone on the empty floor in front of the curtain. All the teachers and students of Kanagawa High School were watching intently. In their line of sight, the girl slowly poked her head out, curiously looking around the spotlights, then carefully walked out of the curtain and stepped into the spotlights. She had changed into a white dress. The style and style were different from the fairy's, showing her mortal side. So lively, like a deer with clear eyes that jumped out from the forest. The girl walked towards the fairy, and the spotlights followed her. During this process there were no lines, but everyone was completely focused, as if they had really traveled through time and space to witness the scene with their own eyes. The girl stood in front of the fairy. The two spotlights were close to each other. "Are you a fairy?" the girl asked curiously. The fairy nodded. "I came from the kingdom, wanting to find the end of the world. I don't know why, but I changed into a dress. It's so beautiful. I've been to so many places and met so many different people, but I've never seen such beautiful clothes," the girl excitedly said a lot. Then suddenly asked the fairy as if she remembered something. "Right, you're a fairy. Do you know where the end of the world is?" "The end of the world? The end of the world. I don't know what the end of the world is." "Even you, a fairy, don't know? Then what should I do? Is the map incomplete?" The girl was very dejected. "Why do you want to go to the end of the world?" the fairy asked. "Because it's a place where demons cannot reach." The girl's voice was filled with yearning. "Demons cannot reach this place either." "Really? Could it be the fairyland is the end of the world?" The girl was pleasantly surprised. Then she asked the fairy expectantly, "Can I stay?" "Since you're here, you've already been recognized by the fairyland." The fairy extended her hand. "Come." The girl looked at the fairy's hand and slowly placed her hand on it. At the same time, the two spotlights merged into one and turned into a large circle. Then they slowly spread out until the dim stage was lit up again. In an instant, flowers bloomed, birds chirped, and pleasant music came from afar. The fairy took the girl on a tour of the fairyland. The girl was amazed by the scenery that she was accustomed to. "I'm so happy." On a hillside full of greenery, the young girl couldn't help but dance, and her cheerful laughter filled the fairyland. Infected by her smile, the fairy laughed as well. On the stage, the sky was bright and beautiful. The audience felt as if they were immersed in the scene, going to the fairyland where birds were chirping and flowers were fragrant, forgetting about the strong wind and heavy rain. After spending some happy time with the fairy, the girl remembered her promise with the witch and said goodbye to the fairy. "You must remember." Before leaving, the fairy reminded him, "You must not be discovered. Once discovered, the devil will notice you and follow you to the immortal realm." Don't worry, I'll remember it. And come back soon." The girl was stunned, then smiled brightly. When the girl slowly left the fairy, the lights on the stage dimmed, and became the only two spotlights again. When the girl completely disappeared, the fairy was left alone in the fairyland. She looked into the distance under the spotlights. In the dim fairyland, there were birds chirping and pleasant music. The fairy was still beautiful, but she gave off a sense of desolation. She was like a white wandering soul, floating alone in the boundless wilderness. Compared to the happiness just now, the audience couldn't help but feel sorrowful just by looking at this scene. Some of the more sentimental girls were already secretly wiping their tears, silently praying for a good ending. The curtain closed. After going through so much, the girl finally found a place where the devil couldn't reach, but left because of her promise. Will she be able to return to the fairyland again? The curtain opened. The witch was sitting on a tree root, reading a book. Soon the girl appeared. After leaving the fairyland, her clothes changed back to how they were before. Her hair was scattered, and her clothes were covered in grass. She looked travel-worn. In order to keep her promise with the fairy, the girl went through a lot of hardships and finally arrived at the witch's forest. "As long as I write down the directions to the fairyland and put it in the place where the witch usually reads, I'll be able to return to be with the fairy again." She sat behind a tree, waiting for the witch to leave while looking forward to her reunion with the fairy. What the girl didn't expect was that the witch was different from the normal people she avoided. She had magic that normal people couldn't even imagine or resist. "Who's there?" The witch closed the book. Following her voice, The tree that the girl was hiding behind slowly moved away. Ah! The girl hurriedly covered her face. The lights on the stage suddenly dimmed. In the two spotlights, the witch and the girl were standing. Outside the spotlights, a blurry figure stood there, silently watching the two of them. Ah! The audience screamed. Run! The devil is here, someone was watching intently and hurriedly reminded them. The girl panicked. The witch comforted her. When the girl calmed down, she told the witch everything about the fairyland. Can I return to the fairyland? The girl put her hands in front of her chest, asking in a confused and weak voice. After going through so much, being able to tease the devil, being brave and strong, this was the first time the girl showed such an expression. The witch shook her head. How could I? I'm sorry, the witch appeared apologetic. The girl hid her disappointment and smiled. It's fine, you don't know that I can't be discovered. Hearing that, some of the audience suddenly remembered the previous plot. A witch that even the devil can understand. You might be able to return. The witch looked at the girl's glowing eyes and continued. But the devil has already discovered you. If you return, you'll bring him into the fairyland. The girl's eyes dimmed again. The witch left the stage, leaving the girl alone on the stage, as well as the devil who stood at the edge of the spotlights, watching her. The girl muttered. It's my fault, I didn't keep my promise. Farewell. No, I didn't do anything wrong. The girl fell into anger and confusion. I want to go back. In the end, she made up her mind. Even if the devil enters the fairyland, even if the fairy hates me, I want to see the fairy and be with her forever. The sound of the wind became louder and louder. The audience watched as the girl ran and disappeared behind the curtain, as if they were watching a witch who didn't care about the feelings of the gods and made a deal with the devil. I understand. A male student couldn't help but say. In the end, the girl will be forgiven just like the female knight. That's great, a female student sighed in relief. However, the fairy didn't forgive the girl like the kingdom forgave the knight. Even though the girl tried her best, even though it wasn't an accident that the girl could have avoided. No, you can't. The fairy coldly stared at the girl. Why? The girl begged. Look at yourself. The girl looked down. The white dress she wore the first time she came to the fairyland was now black. The girl lost all her strength and fell on the stage, covering her face and crying. The fairy's gaze was cold. Her beautiful face was expressionless, sending chills down everyone's spine. Why can't she be forgiven? A female student hurriedly asked. She broke the rules. There's nothing we can do about it, someone said. But didn't the female knight who made a deal with the devil also get everyone's forgiveness and live happily with everyone? Humans are humans, fairies are fairies. Fairies hate the devil more, and they don't sympathize with him like humans do. While everyone was discussing the plot, the devil finally walked out of the shadows and stood beside the crying girl. You won, the fairy said to the devil without any emotion. According to the following script, the devil politely and somewhat proudly said, Not at all, I spent a lot of time. The fairy said, Time? Do you think the devil cares about that? Stop your ridicule. I will take the fairyland and leave, and let this world come to an end. Not yet, the devil, no, Toru Watanabe said. I've been waiting for you, the fairy, no, Rin Kiyono said. From the moment she received the script, Rin Kiyono quietly watched Toru Watanabe. She wasn't surprised, her voice was calm and cold. He wanted to use the play to convey his feelings. She would also tell him her determination. The gymnasium suddenly quieted down. The sound of music and people's discussions all disappeared. The sound of thunder and rain outside hit their eardrums even harder. The kingdom can forgive the knight. Why can't you forgive her? Toru Watanabe's slightly darker eyes looked straight at Rin Kiyono. Some people can forgive betrayal, some people can't. It's just that the choices are different. She kept her promise with you, and broke it because of something that normal people can't do. Even so, you still want to expel her from the fairyland? Rin Kiyono fell silent, slightly lowering her eyes. Miki Kujo's family, the scene when she was 4 years old, rolled over in her mind. Like a gear, once one's life turned in the wrong direction, it would stay wrong forever. After fighting alone for a long time, one would either break down, or have unimaginable determination and willpower. Rin Kiyono looked up, her gaze falling on Toru Watanabe's face. "That's right," she said. The thunder was dull, but the audience turned a deaf ear, forgetting that it was a typhoon, and looked nervously at the stage. "What's going on?" Aoi Ichiki was confused and worried. "Don't worry, leave it to Watanabe." Aona Koizumi looked at Toru Watanabe on the stage. Compared to herself, she trusted him more. Toru Watanabe stared at Rin Kiyono. Since she was 4 years old, she had persevered alone for 13 years. She stood alone in the boundless wilderness. Her beautiful figure fascinated Toru Watanabe, and he admired her from the bottom of his heart. But compared to this, no matter what she thought, no matter what path she planned to take in the future, Toru Watanabe wanted to see her laughing in the crowd. This was his arrogance, his personal opinion. Only by caring for and understanding each other can one's life be happy. This was what he had learned from Miki Kujo and Aona Koizumi, and now he was telling Rin Kiyono. Everyone has their own happiness, and if you live according to your own will, you can also be happy. Of course, there's nothing wrong with sticking to your principles, and I won't say that it's wrong, but I want you to give up. I want you to leave Wonderland. You betrayed me? Rin Kiyono's voice was really cold. The typhoon seemed to have just discovered the stadium, and it suddenly swept over. The clouds followed closely behind, throwing lightning to the ground, and the sky was as bright as day. Then with a loud bang, it suddenly exploded. The world was trembling. No. Toru Watanabe closed his eyes. You want me to give up? You're telling the truth. Rin Kiyono said slowly, emphasizing each word. No. Rin Kiyono laughed coldly, and his sharp eyes stared directly at Toru Watanabe, whose eyes were closed. You love Kiyono too much, and you can't see her objectively. You think of everything from her perspective. You and Rin Kiyono have a very good relationship, and that's why you can't think calmly. Kujo has her family on her shoulders, and she can't see through lies, but you tell her not to lie, even though she clearly doesn't lie to you anymore. Miki has sacrificed, but what about you, Kiyono? If you want to be friends with each other, where's the basic mutual care? Will you only let others cater to you? Love isn't one-sided, it's mutual. Plans after plans, principles after principles, and a basket of words that he had thought of long ago, supported Toru Watanabe to come here and stand on the stage. But only by being cold and heartless could he get rid of his personal feelings, think of a way, and fulfill his wish. He still couldn't do it. He opened his eyes and looked at Rin Kiyono. Her beautiful face was filled with the anger of being betrayed, and her expression was as cold as ice. If this wasn't a stage for a play, she would have already turned around and left, even though her eyes were as cold as a sharp blade, and no one dared to look directly at her. Even though she was stubborn and cold, Toru Watanabe still loved her to the point of no return. All the flowers bloom for you, you're so different. No matter how many choices he had in life, Toru Watanabe could only choose to love Rin Kiyono. Enough is enough, he said coldly. At this moment, the typhoon fled in panic, and the clouds didn't dare to make even the slightest sound. Everyone held their breaths, and Rin Kiyono looked at him in disbelief. The outside world is wonderful, Toru Watanabe said. There are witches who can understand demons, and there are witches who don't care about the gods' feelings and trade with demons because they love the gods. There are all kinds of people and all kinds of things. Don't you want to see them? Why do you want to stay in this cold fairyland where there are only flowers? I can't. Is it wrong? No. It's wrong. Reason? There's no reason. Pester endlessly? Rin Kiyono mocked. Toru Watanabe thought of my Asahi, who didn't care about anything, including his wishes, as long as she was with him. You're the only one who can make me pester endlessly and worry so much, Toru Watanabe said. Rin Kiyono fell silent, and turned her face away to avoid his gaze. I won't force you to make any choice, but I want you to answer me now. Do you regret it? Have you ever thought of reconciling with her? In the script, fairies couldn't lie. In reality, Rin Kiyono couldn't lie. The fierce wind stopped at some point, and the silence was like a drizzle falling on the eaves, playing out in the gymnasium. After a long time, Rin Kiyono spoke in a calm voice. Yes. The fairies admit their mistakes, and the world comes to an end. Toru Watanabe clapped frivolously, as if the confrontation just now didn't exist. Only then did the audience come back to their senses, and they all exclaimed, "What a cunning demon!" He pretended to be a good person, and took the initiative to persuade the fairies to forgive the young girls. I was wondering why, so that's what it was all about. The demon didn't prepare the map from the beginning, did he? Maybe the witches, the shamans, the female knights, and the young girls were all used by the demon. They were the demon's pawns, and the demon's goal was the fairies from the beginning. So that's what the end of the world means. The audience couldn't wait to discuss their understanding of the plot, and when they saw the curtain slowly fall, they came back to their senses and applauded loudly. Watching the curtain gradually close, Toru Watanabe breathed a sigh of relief. "This is completely different from the plan," Miki Kujo said beside him. "That's enough." At this time, Rin Kiyono suddenly walked to his side and whispered, "I have something to say to you later." Toru Watanabe looked at her sharp eyes and wailed in his heart. Miki. There would be a day when he would ask Miki Kujo for help. "Go, my dear," Miki Kujo said with a smile. When they returned backstage, the audience applauded. "That was amazing. Their acting skills are amazing. I thought they were really quarreling." "Yeah, I was shocked. We are the male and female lead of the Oscars. This is nothing," Toru Watanabe replied. After changing out of their clothes, Toru Watanabe and Rin Kiyono went to the corridor on the second floor of the gymnasium that led to the school dormitory. The typhoon had already stopped, and it was drizzling. Before Rin Kiyono could speak, Toru Watanabe said childishly, "I'm sorry for being mean to you, but that's because I like you. I already guessed what you were going to do on stage when I got the script. Then you were already prepared to reconcile with Miki. Don't change the subject." Rin Kiyono glanced at him. "You're not either," Toru Watanabe thought, but he was getting more and more worried. In this whole thing, there was one thing that he couldn't explain, and Rin Kiyono obviously noticed it. "At Karuizawa. Sure enough. You deliberately talked about the scene when we first met, and let me sing along with you, just to make me agree to perform a play for the cultural festival? And then put on this play?" "No. I was really just saying it casually. Using my nostalgia for the past. If I take a seat in the ground, will you forgive me?" Rin Kiyono looked at Toru Watanabe coldly. "Open the window." "Yes." As soon as the window was opened, the fresh and comfortable air rushed in. Summer was completely over, and Tokyo had completely entered autumn. Rin Kiyono took a deep breath in the cool night air. Kiyono-san, Ryu-san? What can I do with you?" Rin Kiyono turned her head and smiled helplessly. "You like me so much and I like you so much." Toru Watanabe couldn't say anything. Was his current mood the same as when Rin Kiyono heard him say on stage, "You're the only one who can make me pester you endlessly, worry and work so hard." Although the typhoon had stopped, the trams hadn't been restored, and the school was still worried about letting the students go back so late, so they still had to stay the night. When it was time to sleep, Miki Kujo slept between Toru Watanabe and Rin Kiyono. Even if it was a girl next door, she didn't want to sleep next to her. Rin Kiyono lay in the dark, thinking about everything that happened on stage today. Back then, perhaps she was really too heartless to Miki Kujo. She closed her eyes and asked the deepest thoughts in her heart. "Do I hate Miki Kujo? Yes. Do I hate being together with Miki Kujo? No, I'm used to it. What if I continue to be friends with her? It's not impossible. When I was 4 years old, who was wrong? Miki Kujo was the first to break the promise, but since she was only 4 years old at the time, she wasn't lying at all, so she was more at fault." Rin Kiyono exhaled. In the dark, she reached out to her right and touched Miki Kujo's slender, long fingers. The next moment, Miki Kujo took her fingers away, and changed from a lying position to a sleeping position with her back facing her, and Toru Watanabe. Rin Kiyono's hand was left between the two of them. She silently looked at the ceiling of the gymnasium that seemed to be the sky. Once the gears turned wrong, they would never be able to go back. Rin Kiyono closed her eyes, and let the world sink into complete darkness. Just then her hand was touched. A slender, Long finger gently touched her hand. Warmth flowed from the bottom of her heart. Rin Kiyono, who had never changed her sleeping position, suddenly had the urge to turn over on her bed. She didn't know when, but one of the hands that touched each other moved forward, and at the same time, the other hand moved forward as well. In the dark, it was impossible to tell who changed their positions first. All she knew was that the hands that had only touched each other lightly were now holding each other. Chapter 341. The next morning, the sun shone as brightly as it did in midsummer. It was another sunny day. However, the endless sky and the transparent rays of light made people feel that autumn was coming. The cultural festival ended, and the school had 2 days off. After leaving school, please go home immediately. You are not allowed to stay outside. The teachers maintained order and loudly instructed. Let's go eat breakfast together later? Sure, what should we eat? Many students didn't take the teacher's words to heart and planned to go play. The school was a mess. Many trees fell and garbage was everywhere. Aona Koizumi and Huang Zi were left behind. Miki Kujo sent Rin Kiyono and Mayasahi home. No one spoke along the way. There was an atmosphere of people who often chatted online, but met for the first time in real life. The car arrived at Rin Kiyono's apartment first. Let's go shopping together tomorrow? Miki Kujo suddenly spoke. Rin Kiyono, who was about to get out of the car, hesitated for 2 or 3 seconds before nodding and saying, "Okay." After she got out of the car, the door closed, and the car drove a distance away. Toru Watanabe laughed. "What are you laughing at?" "Shut up," Miki Kujo coldly ordered. "Ha ha." Toru Watanabe laughed even harder and clapped. Miki Kujo's originally fierce expression suddenly laughed, and reached out to pinch his waist. Mayasahi tilted her head and looked at the two of them in confusion. When they arrived at Shinocho, Toru Watanabe didn't get out of the car. Instead, he and Miki Kujo went back to Kamibocho's villa. "Tell me, what happened last night? How did you suddenly make up and go shopping together?" Toru Watanabe chased Miki Kujo up to the second floor. "Nothing." Miki Kujo turned into the bedroom and began to unbutton her shirt to take a shower. "Impossible. How did you make up? Tell me. Ask her if you want to know." Miki Kujo threw away her shirt and took off her camisole. Her curvaceous upper body was only left with a black bra. Toru Watanabe didn't pursue the matter. He knew exactly what had happened. He lay on the soft and comfortable bed and sighed in satisfaction. His energetic body suddenly didn't want to move. He wanted to just lie there like this forever. Miki Kujo untied the sides of her pleated skirt and let it slide to the ground. Then, she threw the pantyhose that she had just taken off at Toru Watanabe. "Don't dirty my bed. Don't throw it around. This is my bed." Toru Watanabe threw the pantyhose to the side. He was no longer the same person as last year. He could take off Miki Kujo's pantyhose and throw it away whenever he wanted. While Miki Kujo was taking a shower, he was lying on the bed with nothing on his mind. When Miki Kujo came out in her pajamas and asked him to take a shower, he finally came back to his senses. "I'll be right there." Toru Watanabe jumped up from the bed. "It's okay if you take a little longer." Miki Kujo sat in front of the mirror and used a hairdryer to dry her hair. When she turned off the hairdryer, Tetsumasa Watanabe came out of the bathroom. "Sit here." Miki Kujo stood up. "I'll dry your hair for you." Toru Watanabe sat there. Miki Kujo rubbed his hair, as if she was facing a pile of weeds. Toru Watanabe's head moved along with her hand, shaking his head. Miki Kujo laughed cheerfully, and then began to dry his hair seriously. The hairdryer blew warm air. Miki Kujo's fingers gently tidied his hair. Toru Watanabe looked at the two people in the mirror. His heart fell into the softest bed in the world. "It's done." The sound of the hairdryer disappeared. Toru Watanabe came back to his senses. In the mirror, his hair was soft, but there was a tuft of hair sticking up. "Does it look good?" Miki Kujo asked with a smile. It's good. Toru Watanabe said perfunctorily. He took the hairdryer from her hand and put it aside. "What are you doing?" "I'm not a casual person. This kind of thing has to wait until after marriage." "Unfortunately, I'm a casual person." Toru Watanabe picked up Miki Kujo in a princess carry. I'm going to call the police and have someone come to arrest you. As she said that, Miki Kujo hooked her hands around Toru Watanabe's neck and looked into his eyes with a smile. The two came to the bed. Toru Watanabe gently put her down. He sat on the edge of the bed with his left hand beside Miki Kujo and his right hand stroking her delicate and beautiful face. The best, the cutest Miki, he said in his most gentle voice. Miki Kujo put her hand on his right hand that was stroking her face. Her eyes were gentle. Since you're so good and so cute, what are you waiting for? She looked into Toru Watanabe's eyes and said softly. Toru Watanabe leaned down and kissed her lips. The two of them hugged each other tightly. Their desire for each other could only be temporarily satisfied by completely sucking each other into their bodies. The next day, Miki Kujo put on a beautiful dress and went shopping with Rin Kiyono. Toru Watanabe went to Kiyono's palace-style villa by Tokyo Bay. Young Master Watanabe. The servant bowed to him. Is Aunt Kiyono here? He asked. Madam is in the garden. Thank you. The servant bowed and retreated to the side to continue cleaning the fountain that was messed up by the typhoon. Toru Watanabe walked into the living room alone. He was still in the living room. Through the wall-sized French window, he could see Mrs. Kiyono and Mrs. Kujo tidying the plants in the 3-acre garden. This is a tall type of melon chrysanthemum. It can be used for flower arrangement. This short type is used for appreciation. What about the flowering period? Sowing in summer and autumn, blooming in winter and spring. The flowering period is December to May of the following year. Planting it now. Koen Watanabe? Mrs. Kujo turned around. Toru Watanabe stood on the sunlit porch and looked at the two of them. Who is this? Mrs. Kiyono mocked. From her appearance, he could roughly imagine Rin Kiyono's appearance in 20 years. If she cut her hair short at that time. Watanabe, Toru Watanabe. Toru Watanabe replied with a smile. Have we met before? Mrs. Kiyono was puzzled. I'm sorry. I'll visit you often in the future. Toru Watanabe left the porch and walked into the lady's garden. Why are you visiting her? Your mother-in-law is here. After Kujo Masakazu finished speaking, she suddenly thought of something and said, Well, you haven't been to my place for so many days, but you came here. Are you planning to seek refuge with Kiyono's family? I'm here for you, Toru Watanabe said. Kujo Masakazu couldn't stand it anymore and turned to Kiyono Yuko and said, You can't believe a word he says. Agreed. Kiyono Yuko waved to Toru Watanabe. Come here. She pointed to a bag of fine soil by the fence and said, Take it. We'll scatter the seeds later, and you can pour it evenly. Toru Watanabe took the bag of soil and followed behind the two ladies. The sky was blue, the clouds were thin, and the bay was still. The garden was bare, the flowers destroyed by the typhoon, and the fragrance of the soil was everywhere. The two ladies talked about how to rearrange the garden, occasionally asking Toru Watanabe for his opinion. After working for more than half an hour, they handed the tools to the servants and took off the gloves they had put on for planting the flowers. The three of them returned to the living room with the 10-meter-high roof. The window was half open, and the sunlight cast the shadow of the window lattice on the ground. Tell me, why did you come to see me? Where's Miki and Ling? They didn't come with you? Mrs. Kiyono sat on the sofa. Mrs. Kujo Masakazu sat next to her. The breeze blew their hair, and they looked charming. The scene in front of him seemed familiar, and he felt that he must have seen it in a movie. They went shopping. Toru Watanabe looked at the two of them and said. The two ladies also looked at him. For a moment, there was only the whispers of the wind and curtains in the living room. Made up? Mrs. Kujo Masakazu asked. Made up. Toru Watanabe nodded. Mrs. Kujo Masakazu couldn't help but smile, and then leaned back against the back of the sofa. That child, Mrs. Kiyono Masakazu said as if she was talking to herself, finally has friends again. He needs to drink something. Mrs. Kujo Masakazu turned her head and ordered the maid. Go get the best red wine. Yes. By the way, give him a glass of juice the same color as the red wine. Mrs. Kujo Masakazu pointed at Toru Watanabe and added. After pouring the red wine, Mrs. Kujo Masakazu stared at it for a while, and then after gracefully taking the first sip, she continued. How did you do it? Mrs. Kiyono Masakazu also looked at Toru Watanabe curiously. Toru Watanabe held the bottom of the wine glass between his fingers and gently turned it like a screw on a machine. After a moment of deliberation, he told the two of them about the recent events. The two ladies listened with rapt attention and only occasionally picked up the glass subconsciously. That's all. Toru Watanabe took a sip of the juice that looked like wine, but he couldn't tell what fruit it was. After listening, Mrs. Kiyono Masakazu asked an unexpected question. Miki Masakazu-rin, who do you like more? And your other two lovers? Mrs. Kujo Masakazu's gaze also became meaningful, with a sense of scrutiny. I love Kiyono Masakazu the most. This love was as indestructible as a 1,000-year-old rock, and there was no room for compromise. I love Miki Masakazu the most. Sometimes he would fall into confusion. If Miki Masakazu continued to kill people, would he still be able to firmly oppose her? That's how I love her. I love my Masakazu the most. He didn't find my Asahi Masakazu, who wanted nothing but him, troublesome at all, very distressing. No matter what, he had to make her happy. Aona Koizumi Masakazu is the most touched and the most natural person to get along with. She had forgotten about him, but she still remembered to come to Tokyo and go to Kamigawa. She had persisted for 10 years, just because of a month of interaction. And her tolerant and gentle love. In front of her, he could be lazy, and he didn't need to care about honesty or lies. He didn't need to think about how to balance the relationship. He didn't need to constantly remind himself that he must take good care of her. He was as casual as an ordinary person. Then who do you want to be with the most? Kujo Masakazu asked. If I have to choose, it's still between Kiyono Masakazu and Miki Masakazu. After thinking about it, Toru Watanabe said, Kiyono Masakazu is my love. It's very interesting to chat with her, and we can stay together harmoniously even if we don't chat. The key is that she understands me, and I understand her. But I also like Miki Masakazu to the deepest part of my heart. I wish I could stay with her every day, and even hold her hand when we walk. Playboy. Kiyono Masakazu commented. Frivolous. Kujo Masakazu concluded. Yes, but please rest assured that there won't be anyone else other than the four of them. It's useless to promise us. Kujo Masakazu waved her hand as if she couldn't be bothered. Wait. Kiyono Masakazu put down the wine glass in her hand and stared at Toru Watanabe. You're already together with Ling? Not yet, but I've already thought it through. Toru Watanabe's tone was relaxed and pleasant. I like her so much, and I don't care what she thinks. I must get her. I hope the two of you can allow it, for the sake of me making them reconcile. That's your business, Mrs. Kujo Masakazu said. Thank you. Toru Watanabe said sincerely. I'm only concerned about one thing. Kujo Masakazu asked curiously. Who do you plan to marry? Toru Watanabe was put in a difficult position, but he still said, and there are some things. Kiyono Masakazu suddenly stood up and put her girlish hand on Toru Watanabe's shoulder. Think about it carefully before you speak. I want to know the answer now. Kujio Maki also stood up and placed her hand on Toru Watanabe's other shoulder, which was no different from a young girl's. Toru Watanabe, who was between the two of them, looked very pitiful. He even wondered if he would be threatened by Rin Kiyono and Miki Kujo in 20 years. He could only run to Senpai Mai and Senpai Aonai, and hide with them for a few days. Say something, Koen Watanabe. This. Ding ding dang, bell ding dang. In order to ensure that he could answer Miki Kujo's call immediately, he had specially set a special ringtone for her, and it still hadn't been changed. I'll take the call. Toru Watanabe took out his phone and prepared to take the opportunity to slip away. What, is there something we can't hear? Mrs. Kujo pressed him back again. Mrs. Sano simply took the phone away from him and answered the call by putting it on speaker. Why did you take so long to answer? Miki Kujo's dissatisfied voice came through. It took so long, but it was actually only 3 or 4 seconds. Without waiting for Toru Watanabe to explain, Miki Kujo said, "Kiyono is really incorrigible. There's no way to get along with her." The two ladies suddenly became nervous and leaned over. "What's the matter now?" Toru Watanabe didn't care and asked curiously. "We were shopping when we suddenly went back." "What did you do?" Although it was a question, Toru Watanabe was very sure. "What can I do? We were shopping for autumn clothes. I wanted to buy clothes for you. What's wrong with a girlfriend buying clothes for her boyfriend?" "You did it on purpose, didn't you?" Miki Kujo finally couldn't help but laugh out loud. The shop assistant asked what kind of clothes you like. I said he likes to wear the type I want him to wear. You didn't see Kiyono's expression at that time, ha ha ha. The two ladies looked at each other, and then burst into laughter at the same time. "I'll apologize to her tomorrow." Miki Kujo's brisk voice came from the other side of the phone. "You actually took the initiative to apologize?" This was beyond Toru Watanabe's expectations and surprised him. "We'll go shopping after we make up. We haven't bought clothes yet." "Don't buy it for me again." Ha 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 ha. Miki Kujo was very happy. Obviously, she was up to no good. As soon as the call ended, the phone rang again. This time it was Rin Kiyono. She said immediately, "Tell her that if she does this again, don't ask me out." "What's wrong?" Toru Watanabe asked even though he already knew the answer. "We agreed to pick out autumn clothes for each other. She suddenly mentioned you and said that she wanted to buy clothes for you. She knows that we're competing. What does she want to do? You can buy it for me too." Rin Kiyono sneered. "This isn't a matter of buying or not. She's declaring war. Tell her exactly what I said." "Okay." After the call ended, Kiyono returned the phone to Toru Watanabe. "I was a little dissatisfied to be with both of our daughters at the same time, but now I'm not," she said with a smile. "It's been hard on you." Kujo patted Toru Watanabe's shoulder sympathetically. "It's not hard. I'm very happy." After a pause, Toru Watanabe added, "They're very happy too." A wave of soothing and pleasant air drifted in from the floor-to-ceiling window. It felt like a breeze, but it also didn't feel like a breeze. It was a cool and pleasant autumn day. Chapter 342. There's one more thing. Toru Watanabe said to Kiyono Yuko. Kiyono Yuko gestured for him to get straight to the point. "It's about you and Kiyono." "Which Kiyono Yuko?" "Me. Rin's Aunt Riko Kiyono? Rin's little Aunt Kiyono Yuko?" "Rin's. I didn't know you were so stupid," Mrs. Kujo Yuko said sarcastically. "Aha." Mrs. Kiyono Yuko blinked mischievously and asked Toru Watanabe, "Which Kiyono Yuko?" "It's about you and Rin." Kiyono Yuko nodded in satisfaction. "About your agreement with Rin. Can you reconsider it?" After a pause, Toru Watanabe said, "In order to let Rin take over Kiyono Yuko's family, you should have already tried all the methods that should be tried. The so-called half-year agreement was actually just a forced one. There's no guarantee at all." Kiyono Yuko didn't say anything. Toru Watanabe continued. "Since I can make her and Miki Yuko reconcile, then I should be the most likely person in the world to let her take over Kiyono Yuko's family. I won't deny that there's no guarantee. You're the most likely person, but there's one thing." Kiyono Yuko scrutinized Toru Watanabe. "The reason you want them to reconcile is because it's related to your own love." "It's not like that." Toru Watanabe had to explain himself. But his somewhat unbelievable truth was probably something that no one would believe except for Rin Kiyono. And some of his whimsical ideas were something that even Rin Kiyono didn't believe, but Miki Kujo easily believed him. That's fine no matter what. Kiyono's wife was also one of those who did not believe her. "Letting Ling take over the Kiyono family is completely dispensable to you. If that's the case, can you still force Ling to reconcile like you did with them?" "No." This question didn't require any thought. Toru Watanabe added, "If she can't take over, I'm willing to manage Kiyono's family for her in the future. I'm not trying to boast, but I can do anything well if I want to." "I can't pretend that I didn't hear that," Mrs. Kujo interrupted. "Does this mean that you want to marry into Kiyono's family?" "I mean, I'm just helping her manage it, right?" Toru Watanabe asked doubtfully. Disappointed. Mrs. Kiyono pretended to be disappointed, then waved her hand. Forget it, I trust Ling and Ling trusts you. You can make the decision. Speaking of future plans, Kuin Watanabe, I haven't asked you seriously yet. Have you decided what you want to do in the future? Mrs. Kujo asked. Toru Watanabe was excited. He pushed the grape wine glass away and leaned out slightly. I've made a small breakthrough in artificial intelligence. My two mothers-in-law were not far from ruling the world. So you're studying neurology? Mrs. Kiyono nodded in understanding. Mrs. Kujo's wife was thoughtful, looking at Toru Watanabe with a slight smile. I'm just talking nonsense. Toru Watanabe sat up straight and laughed as if he was just joking. September 27th, Wednesday. It was a day when autumn turned into autumn. The streets had been cleaned up quickly, but traces of a typhoon could still be seen on the trees on both sides of the road to school. Toru Watanabe walked into the classroom and saw Miki Kujo lying on a pillow, teasing Rin Kiyono like a child in a fit of pique. Rin Kiyono was expressionless, holding a novel by the Queen of British Mystery Novels, Christie. Good morning, both of you. He greeted them and walked to his seat. Miki Kujo glanced at him with a smile, then her eyes fell on Rin Kiyono's fair and delicate little face. Ling, I've already apologized. Can you forgive me? Her teasing and pranking tone could fool most people if she restrained it 10 times. My Kei-san. Toru Watanabe couldn't stand it anymore. Enough is enough. Didn't you see that she's already started reading detective and crime novels? Don't worry. No matter what, I won't use the same method as in the book. Rin Kiyono said as she looked at the book. You didn't deny that you were going to kill me. Miki Kujo said with a smile. You didn't admit it either. Toru Watanabe added. Everyone, return to your seats. The class meeting has begun. Aona Koizumi walked in wearing her teacher's uniform and holding a lesson plan. Rin Kiyono closed her book, while Miki Kujo was still lazily hugging her pillow. Toru Watanabe turned around and looked at the beautiful Aona Koizumi on the podium. The culture festival is over. Everyone should start preparing to study. Tomorrow will be the exam. The scene was the same as before, as if nothing had changed, but also as if it was completely different. In the next 2 days, the school held the September exam. On Friday after the last exam, Toru Watanabe, as the student on duty, filled out the duty list and went to the office alone. There were few people in the office. Many teachers had already left. Aona Koizumi and Huangzi were still there. Huangzi was grading papers, while Aona Koizumi was typing something into the computer. Anai-sensei. Toru Watanabe put the duty list on her desk. On the desk, there was meat and roses in a vase. The pens were neatly inserted into the pen holder, and the documents were in order. Just by looking at the desk, one could imagine the beauty of the owner of the desk, as well as her love for life. Aona Koizumi checked the form. After confirming that it was filled out, she said to him, Do you plan to go back by yourself, or do you plan to come with us? Are you busy with something? Toru Watanabe asked. The other teachers had already left. There was no reason for the two of them to be busy. The 3 of you have been recommended by Tokyo University. Aona Koizumi showed a happy smile. I'm sorting out your usual grades, and then filling in the teacher and school evaluation. I forgot. Toru Watanabe said. Watanabe, Huangzi stood up and patted the back of her chair. Don't keep standing. Come and sit. You're such a good teacher. Of course. In Kanagawa High School, I'm the most gentle to my students. Anai-sensei, I'll tell you something. You're recognized as the most strict female teacher. There's less homework. Huangzi said very cruelly. Okay, sit down. Toru Watanabe sat on the chair that still had some body heat. Huangzi immediately handed him a red pen and a piece of paper. This is the reference answer. Is it a treat tonight? I want to eat the barbecue in Shushuyuan. Toru Watanabe began to grade the papers of the first class. Shushuyuan is too expensive. I can only afford to eat there once a month. Where's the money you saved? You're just an ordinary female teacher. How can you bear to spend the money she saved to buy a house? What does it have to do with me whether you buy a house or not? Aona Koizumi was sorting out her documents. Occasionally, she would smile as she watched the two bicker. I'll be leaving first. The physics teacher of the 4th class passed by. Thank you for your hard work today. The teacher was older. Aona Koizumi and Huangzi said respectfully. Thank you for your hard work. Then the physics teacher saw Toru Watanabe. Watanabe, congratulations. It's all thanks to sensei's teaching. Toru Watanabe had always been humble. He was the only conscience of the human observation department. Although you've received a recommendation, you must listen carefully in my classes from now on. As he spoke, he became more enthusiastic. The physics teacher chattered on for a while, and even recommended blind dates for Huangzi. After she left, Huangzi breathed an exaggerated sigh of relief. I'm going back to my hometown. My parents are urging me. At school, I'm being urged by other teachers. That's where I'm happy, she said. Shushu Yuan. Toru Watanabe wrote 91 on Yoshimi Tamamo's test paper. After Aona Koizumi finished sorting out her documents, the three of them went to the infirmary to meet Miyazaki Miyuki. Then they took a taxi back to Nonocho. In the evening, they didn't go to Shushu Yuan. Instead, they bought ingredients and barbecued in room 501. To celebrate Watanabe receiving a recommendation from Tokyo University. Cheers! Cheers! Everyone drank a mouthful. The meat on the barbecue was sizzling. The vegetables were silent. When the meat was cooked, Toru Watanabe took out his phone. He wanted to tell his parents the news. Receiving a recommendation from Tokyo University was not essential to him. But for his parents, he was admitted to Tokyo University in advance. They must be very happy and proud. When he sent the message, he noticed the family group. He thought about it and added Aona Koizumi and Mayasahi. Sensei, senpai, I added you to a group. Group. Aona Koizumi picked up her phone in confusion. Harem group? Huangzi asked. How shameless. How is that possible? Even if he wanted to create that kind of group, it would be many years later, not now. What is that? Before Huangzi could finish his words, Koizumi Aonai exclaimed. Watanabe. Her voice was close to a wail, full of panic and shyness. What's wrong? Miyazaki Miyuki asked. Aona Koizumi did not answer her. She held her phone with both hands and hesitated about what to type. In the group chat. Ah, it's getting lively, Kiyono. Haha, Kujo. Watanabe's mother. Hello, Watanabe's mother, I'm Aona Koizumi. Aonai. Koizumi-sensei? Watanabe's mother. Yes, Aonai. Hello, Auntie, I'm Mayasahi. Hello, Watanabe's mother. On the other side, Toru Watanabe received a private message from his mother. What's going on? Well, your son is a scumbag. Did you do something wrong to Lin and Mickey? That's our own business. Mom, you just need to know that they're my girlfriends. Aona Koizumi is your teacher, right? My child will have a free teacher in the future. You child. Watanabe, your mother is ignoring me. Is she angry? Aona Koizumi was very worried. Koizumi-sensei is very anxious right now. She's afraid that you hate her. Mom quickly replied to the group chat. After a while, Toru Watanabe saw Aona Koizumi breathe a sigh of relief. Then she gradually calmed down and replied with a smile. Mayasahi still looked indifferent. She didn't feel anything about this matter. Huangzi and Miyazaki Miyuki gathered around Aona Koizumi and gave her ideas on how to please the middle-aged woman. Toru Watanabe was responsible for taking care of the neglected barbecue. After eating the barbecue, because Huangzi paid for the ingredients, Miyazaki Miyuki and Mayasahi washed the vegetables. From this arrangement, it could be seen that they were close friends, so Toru Watanabe and Aona Koizumi washed the dishes. Aona Koizumi was responsible for washing, and Toru Watanabe was responsible for drying the dishes and neatly placing them on the bowl rack. Why did you suddenly introduce me to your parents? Aona Koizumi was still unsettled. I want to be an honest person. After all, they're my parents. They'll definitely accept my willfulness. You scared me. Will Kujo-san be angry? No, she has a bad personality. She doesn't care much about my parents' feelings. Aona Koizumi glanced at Toru Watanabe. Seeing his relaxed expression, she felt his love for Miki Kujo. She couldn't find the right words to describe that feeling. She forced herself to think of a not-so-nice but appropriate one. Colluding with each other. It sounded bad, but it was intimate without caring about each other's personalities. It was like a father saying to his child, "Why didn't you die?" It was cruel and excessive, but there was something touching about it. Sensei, when you came home, did your parents urge you to go on blind dates? They definitely did, but not as much as Huang Zi's parents. Aona Koizumi couldn't help but laugh as she recalled Huang Zi's troubled expression. Can I go back with you, Sensei? Toru Watanabe stopped wiping the dishes. Go back. Aona Koizumi was stunned at first, and stopped washing the dishes. Then she reacted. Go back to Kobe with me? Can't I? You can, but I want to wait until after you graduate from university. That's 5 years away. Sensei, you've already. Don't say it. Oh. Toru Watanabe had already understood the rejection of age from his 2 wives. I don't want Sensei's parents to always worry. Sensei, you're a girl, so you can't be honest with your parents like me. But we can hide it from them and let them feel at ease. Not letting them worry is more important than anything else. Of course I want to, but you're too young. Aona Koizumi continued washing the dishes. She quite liked Toru Watanabe's youthful appearance, and she couldn't get enough of it. But in this case, youth was a weakness. I can dress more mature, and then I'll let you see my acting skills. I guarantee that Sensei's parents will believe me. Really? Although it seemed impractical, Aona Koizumi was in a very good mood. Her voice was filled with vitality like a fish jumping out of the water. Tomorrow, let's go buy more mature clothes, and then I'll show you my acting skills. The 2 of them talked one after another, discussing when to return to Kobe, what gifts to buy, how to address Aona Koizumi's parents, and what to do if they were exposed. Washing the dishes became a happy thing. Aona Koizumi didn't need new happiness, nor did she need new surprises. Today was another day of contentment with life. When they went back at night, Toru Watanabe and Masahi first found an old movie called Interstellar. It was a very good sci-fi movie. After that, they had a good time. Before going to bed, Toru Watanabe took out his phone and scrolled through the messages in the group. How's Archer in school? Watanabe's mother. He's very good. Aonai. He often copies my homework. Kiyono. Ha. Aonai. This child. Where is he? I have to teach him a good lesson. Watanabe's mother. Sensei Aonai, I'm not in Tokyo. Please, you can beat him if he doesn't listen to you. Watanabe's mother. Auntie Ji, she can't do it. She's the easiest one to talk to. Why don't you give me the power? Kiyono, he's my man. Who are you to tell him what to do? Miki. It's hard to say whose man he is yet to be determined. Kiyono. Are you free tomorrow? Miki. Whether I'm free or not, I definitely won't go shopping with you. Kiyono. I'll go find you in the afternoon, Miki. Don't come, I won't open the door for you, Kiyono. After that, Miki Kujo pestered Rin Kiyono endlessly. Can I join the girls' club? Toru Watanabe. What does it have to do with you? Miki. Come secretly, I'll open the door for you alone. Kiyono. Kiyono still loves me, sob sob sob. Toru Watanabe. Come here, Miki, now. Toru Watanabe. I'll give you 20 minutes, Miki. Miki-sama, I was wrong, Gekiatsuki Deshino. JPG. Toru Watanabe. Ache, I heard that you copied Rin's homework. Watanabe's mother. My phone ran out of gas, I'm going to bed. Everyone should rest early, make sure you get enough sleep. Toru Watanabe. By the way, I'm definitely going to the girls' club tomorrow. Toru Watanabe. Toru Watanabe turned off his phone and threw it aside. Chapter 343. On the first Saturday of October, Toru Watanabe returned to the street where he rented his apartment for the first time since he moved away at the beginning of the year. After living in the spacious apartment in Shinonocho for a long time, the apartment looked more and more narrow from the outside. There was a small window in the apartment, through which he could overlook Rin Kiyono's high-end apartment. On casual nights, he would read a book while staring at her light in a daze. After passing by the convenience store between the apartment and the high-end apartment, Toru Watanabe turned in and looked at the lunchbox section where he and Rin Kiyono used to buy lunch together. Everything was the same as before. After buying the latest desserts, he walked toward Rin Kiyono's apartment. Miki Kujo hadn't arrived yet, so Rin Kiyono was the only one in the simple and elegant spacious apartment. "Why are you dressed like this at home?" Toru Watanabe followed Rin Kiyono to the living room. A thin V-neck sweater and slim jeans. As for how good-looking it was, Toru Watanabe, as an unwavering leg researcher, was forcibly twisted into a but observer on the spot. It was that good-looking. Occasionally. Rin Kiyono, who was walking in front of him, answered. "Kiyono-san, do you occasionally want to be restrained?" The two of them walked into the living room, and Toru Watanabe put a shopping bag with desserts on the table. "This hobby is a bit obscene." "It's your words that are obscene." Rin Kiyono sighed. "What do you want to drink?" "Anything." Toru Watanabe didn't treat himself as a guest, and sat very casually on the sofa. Rin Kiyono went to the wine cabinet, and while making tea she said, "Simple black tea?" "Simple in what way?" "Fill the cup with Earl tea, plus a lot of orange jam, and a quick Earl tea for ladies." "Earl tea? Even oranges have jam? Why is it ladylike?" "You don't have to pretend to talk to me under the pretense of asking about the tea, while staring at my legs." Half of Toru Watanabe's body had been seen through, not only his legs but also his buttocks. "Actually, I can understand." Rin Kiyono's actions of brewing tea were charming and elegant. "Understand what?" "It's natural for men to care about a woman's legs, buttocks, and breasts." She paused for a moment and continued. "On the other hand, if you're not interested, I'll be worried." "You're worried if I don't look at you?" "Don't ask when you already know the answer." Rin Kiyono's tone carried a hint of reproach. "If you have the time to deliberately lead a woman to say something vulgar, why don't you just take it away?" Toru Watanabe smiled as he moved the packaging in front of him to the side. Rin Kiyono bent over and placed the black tea there. When she bent down, Toru Watanabe saw a touch of white fragrant shoulder. Toru Watanabe picked up the black tea and smelled it. He said, "It's very sweet. Bergamot and orange." Rin Kiyono sat on the single-seater sofa to his right. She was also holding a cup of ladylike Earl Grey tea. "It's strange," Toru Watanabe commented and then took a sip. "How is it?" "It's not bad." He carefully looked at the tea. "When you're feeling down or depressed, drinking this cup will have a good effect." After listening to Toru Watanabe's comment, Rin Kiyono smiled slightly, like the only flower in the vast grassland. "What are you smiling about?" Although he didn't know what she was smiling about, Toru Watanabe already had a smile on his face. "I'm thinking about last year's tea party," Rin Kiyono explained. About drinking tea, interesting things did happen. The two of them drank tea while eating the desserts Toru Watanabe bought from the convenience store. "Breasts, buttocks, legs, which part do you like the most?" Toru Watanabe stopped eating and looked up at Rin Kiyono's beautiful face. "Why are you suddenly asking this?" "Because you've been staring at me since you came in." "No." Rin Kiyono looked away from the colorful desserts in her hands and glanced at him. "That doesn't count as staring, right?" I looked around the living room for 2 or 3 seconds. Rin Kiyono kept staring. Toru Watanabe had to change his words. "I like legs. Research is a serious matter. Please let me explain it myself." "Please." Rin Kiyono put down the desserts and picked up the black tea again. "First of all, I don't like a certain part. I just like to research that part. Let's just say that. Before, I always thought of myself as a firm leg researcher, until I met you. You're simply my marks." "Ma marks?" Rin Kiyono couldn't help but be stunned. "What kind of metaphor is that?" "Marx has a saying. I think it's very appropriate to use it to express your attraction to me." "About Marx, I only know Das Kapital. I've never read it, but there's definitely no topic about women in it." In order to woo Miki Kujo, Toru Watanabe read all the romance novels written by Marx and female high school students. "It's not Das Kapital, it's Tiani," he said. "Admittedly, there are many women in the world, and some are very beautiful. But where can I find a face whose every line, and even every wrinkle, can evoke the strongest and most beautiful memories in my life? Yes. Rin Kiyono nodded and said, You mean you went from liking legs to liking Rin Kiyono? Research, please say research. Liking makes me sound very unprofessional. Okay, research, then I'll discuss it with you. What don't you understand? Toru Watanabe flicked away the non-existent dust on his trousers and put on a calm posture that said, There's nothing I don't know about Rin Kiyono. If one day I'm disfigured, my waist is thick, and my legs are broken, are you still going to research me? Isn't that a little too thorough? Answer the question. It doesn't seem like the kind of assumption you would make. Rin Kiyono didn't speak. Her left hand played with a strand of hair on her shoulder as she waited for Toru Watanabe's answer. People value the intimacy between hearts and think that love should surpass everything, but I think that appearance is very important. It can even be said that in most cases, appearance is the most important. In other words, if I'm not good-looking, you won't love me? Before I fell in love with you. Toru Watanabe emphasized this point. As for now, because I love you too much. You don't care about my appearance anymore? Rin Kiyono looked at him curiously from under her long eyelashes. I definitely won't let you become ugly, Toru Watanabe declared firmly. Rin Kiyono felt both helpless and amused when she saw how he acted as if he had read Das Kapital and was determined to bring about social change. I suddenly feel like hitting you, she said with a smile. The only person who hit me just now, but I didn't hit her. It was only my mom. Miki Kujo liked to pull people's ears. The only person who had ever hit Toru Watanabe was Shirlu, and she almost got kicked in the chest. Take a look at what this is. Rin Kiyono took out her cell phone. The cell phone screen showed a chat history between Rin Kiyono and Watanabe's mother. The time was probably last night after Toru Watanabe went to bed, and her mother transferred the authority to teach her son a lesson. More than that, Rin Kiyono handed the cell phone to Toru Watanabe and let him see it himself. Toru Watanabe scrolled up. That child, Archer, sometimes cares too much about the people around him and always sacrifices himself. So someone needs to kick his butt hard and force him to care more about himself. Archer is a horse. Little Rin, what you need to be is not a novice who tightly grasps the horse's mane and lets the horse run on its own, but a skilled rider who can firmly grasp the reins and control the horse. All the chat history revolved around these two sentences from Watanabe's mother. My mother has always liked you, Toru Watanabe said. I can't tell. Rin Kiyono nodded. The first time she came to Tokyo, she hadn't seen Miki yet. When she called me, she always said, Can't you and little Rin be together? Can't you think of a way? You didn't tell me. How can I say that? My mother is usually not like this, but since she came to Tokyo and saw you, every time she asks me how we are, I can't understand how excited she is. You made a cup of tea for her and put an aphrodisiac in it? That's the reaction of a normal person when they see me. Like you, it's strange that you didn't fall in love with me the first time you saw me. Rin Kiyono's tone was calm, and because of this, it sounded proud. It seems so. Toru Watanabe nodded. I asked my mother, Do you like Kiyono? She said no, but she immediately said, Little Lin is definitely one of a kind, and no one else can compare to him. After that, Toru Watanabe smiled and said, She has always wanted you to be her daughter-in-law. As long as you give up on them, your mother's wish will be fulfilled immediately, Rin Kiyono said with a smile. She never lied. After listening to Toru Watanabe's narration, she understood that Watanabe's mother wanted her to be her daughter-in-law so much. She also remembered that when she went to Iwate Prefecture for the new year, the two of them prepared breakfast together, and she happily talked with her about Toru Watanabe's childhood. She felt touched for no reason. For you, I'm willing to do anything. Toru Watanabe returned the phone to her. Except for this. Then what are you going to do? Toru Watanabe muttered. Recently, I've been thinking about the relationship between us. The phone rang. Rin Kiyono looked at the screen. It was Miki Kujo. She then looked at Toru Watanabe. Toru Watanabe gestured for her to go ahead. Rin Kiyono pressed the answer button. Open the door. Wait downstairs, we'll go down. Watanabe is already here? She asked subconsciously. Miki Kujo said again. Open the door. After that, she hung up. Rin Kiyono sighed. What a troublesome person. She doesn't care about what other people think at all. Watching Rin Kiyono walk to the entrance, Toru Watanabe listened to the control to open the door of the apartment downstairs. So you want Miki to care about what you think. Her legs are so close together. Her butt is so round. Rin Kiyono suddenly turned around. Toru Watanabe quickly retracted his gaze and calmly drank the Countess tea in his hand. He couldn't be blamed at all. As a normal 17-year-old high school student, it would be strange if he didn't look. I must get Rin Kiyono. The hot tea in his throat was not as hot as the desire in his heart. As expected, appearance was very important. The clock pointed to 2 in the afternoon. Miki Kujo walked in. She wore a thin t-shirt with a slim black windbreaker on the outside. She wore a short skirt and black pantyhose on the bottom. Her small face was delicate, her breasts were full, her waist was slender, and her legs were long and graceful. The way she walked over with her hands in the pockets of her windbreaker, it was as if all the seductive things in the world were beckoning to her. You're early. She looked at Toru Watanabe with a smile. I wanted to meet you earlier, Toru Watanabe said. Miki Kujo snorted and stopped staring at him. She was in a good mood recently. No matter what Toru Watanabe did, thought or planned, she could remain calm and magnanimous. Of course, the bottom line was absolutely not allowed. Toru Watanabe would never do such a thing. After spending so much time with her, not only did he not neglect her out of habit, but he also loved her more and more. He wanted to hug her every day. If this was in ancient times, Toru Watanabe would have fallen head over heels for her sooner or later. He would build a deer terrace for her and play with the nobles. Miki Kujo was just that charming. Where are you going today? Still shopping for clothes? Toru Watanabe asked. No, I want to walk around. Miki Kujo sat beside him. Toru Watanabe naturally took her left hand and held it in his palm. Where have you been with those two? Miki Kujo asked him. Freedom Hill, Sayabizawa, Daiguan Mountain, Grand Temple. Speaking of Grand Temple, there are many fortune cats there. You've been to many places. Rin Kiyono smiled. I suddenly feel that you and Miki's smile are a little alike. Then who's prettier? Rin Kiyono asked. Miki Kujo also stared at Toru Watanabe with a smile. This was the consequence of trespassing into their world. There are all kinds of smiles. If you're naive, I'm definitely the prettier one. But that smile just now was just for show. Miki is even prettier, Toru Watanabe said. Putting on an act. Kujio Miyoshi smiled pretentiously. The important thing is that it's prettier. He just told me that he's willing to do anything for me. Rin Kiyono suddenly said. Miki Kujo's smile was no longer for show. It was truly filled with killing intent. For you, Miki, I'm also willing to do anything. Toru Watanabe hurriedly grasped Miki Kujo's slender hand tightly. The same words of love. Miki Kujo's tone was slow. Give me 3 seconds. 1, 3. Say it. Nothing in the world matters as long as I have you. Glib tongue. Miki Kujo disdainfully commented. Then, as if she couldn't be bothered to talk to Toru Watanabe anymore, she turned to Rin Kiyono and said, Do you want to change your clothes? Hurry up. Let's go to Freedom Hill today and erase those two's memories. Toru Watanabe was speechless. Wait a moment. Rin Kiyono walked towards the bedroom. I'll change my jeans. Watanabe, Sen has been staring at me since just now. Toru Watanabe was speechless. When Rin Kiyono disappeared, he turned his head. Miki Kujo was looking at him with a fake smile. Miki. Toru Watanabe put his hands on Miki Kujo's beautiful shoulders and looked at her sincerely. Say it. Miki Kujo said lazily. You have to believe that I'm obsessed with your body. How obsessed? Because I have you. I don't want anything. Because I have everything, I'm obsessed. How many people have you said this to? Only you. Toru Watanabe smiled. I've given most of the words of love in my life to you. Shouldn't you say something to me too? Next year. Next year? Propose to me, Kujio Miki said with a smile. No. Miki, come and help us discuss the clothes. Rin Kiyono opened the bedroom door, only revealing her cute little face. Kujio Miyoshi looked at her and glanced at Toru Watanabe with a smile. She got up and walked over. Chapter 344. Toru Watanabe had been lying on the sofa for almost 20 minutes. When the clock pointed to 2:30, he finally couldn't help but get up. Knock, knock, knock. He knocked on the bedroom door. Ladies, Toru Watanabe said. We see each other every day, it doesn't matter what you wear. Come in. Miki Kujio's voice came. Can I? Toru Watanabe tried to confirm that there was no quarrel inside, and then carefully opened the door. On the 2 by 2 bed, an oversized dolphin doll was lying on it. It actually sleeps with Rin Kiyono every day? Toru Watanabe wondered if he should assassinate it. Looking around, he didn't find the two people, probably in a hidden cloakroom. Toru Watanabe took a book from the bedside, Hemingway's Complete Short Stories, and then sat in front of the French window under the afternoon sun. The simple style of the single sofa was very comfortable. There was a short triangular table in front of him, and there was a candle like incense on the table. Outside the French window, he saw the blue sky of Shinjuku. Looking down, he saw the trees on both sides of the street, shining in the sun. Toru Watanabe found a comfortable sitting position. While imagining Rin Kiyono sitting here and reading, he casually flipped through the book. Every time he finished reading, he glanced at the black dial on his left hand. When it was 2 minutes to 3 o'clock, the two ladies finally came out. I don't have any more energy. He rattled the pages of the book. I felt my heart turn to dust. I don't know what to say. If you don't have any energy, you can sleep. Rin Kiyono said. Wrong, 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 wrong. Toru Watanabe slammed the book shut. Not so loudly. You should say, is love also boring? Then I'll answer you. I asked you to come in to give us your opinion, not to recite. Miki Kujio interrupted him bluntly. I've been waiting for almost an hour. Toru Watanabe tactfully expressed his resentment. Too short. Too short. Not to mention Rin Kiyono and Miki Kujio, even the little girl playing house in the sandpit in the park knew that Toru Watanabe was lying. Rin Kiyono looked at him in amusement and asked, Since you can't wait, let's see how we dress up. Toru Watanabe sized them up. Both of them were posing nicely, and for a moment, he couldn't care less about their clothes. Rin Kiyono changed out of a thin V-neck sweater and jeans that accentuated her curves. Miki Kujio changed into a long white dress. Her pantyhose was gone, and she suddenly looked fresh and pure. It doesn't matter whether we look good or not. I admit that my previous evaluation of you was on the low side, Toru Watanabe said. The two of them laughed at the same time. Miki Kujio threw him an annoyed look and said with a smile, smooth talker. For me. Toru Watanabe stood up and put the Hemingway's Complete Short Stories back on the bed. As long as you don't expose anything, you're dressed up beautifully. Am I right? Rin Kiyono said to Miki Kujio. I already knew. Miki Kujio looked at Toru Watanabe. Toru Watanabe looked back and forth between the two of them and asked in confusion. What's the matter? You don't need to know. Rin Kiyono walked in front of the mirror. She pinched her cuffs and turned around to check her clothes. Miki. Toru Watanabe pointed at her, and then at himself with an expression that said he couldn't accept being abandoned. The two of us are on the same side. Yes, we're on the same side. Miki Kujio said with a smile. It's nothing. When we were trying on the clothes just now, we were talking about you. Rin said that you're as selfish and possessive as me, as proud as her, as paranoid as my Asahi, as gentle as Aona Koizumi. I'm schizophrenic? And you like to talk nonsense. You use nonsense to cover yourself up. Rin Kiyono added in front of the mirror. At least deny that you're schizophrenic. Toru Watanabe reminded her. Let's go. Rin Kiyono turned around in front of the mirror and walked towards Miki Kujio. Is there anything fun in Freedom Hill? Miki Kujio asked. Freedom Hill is known as Japan's holy land of desserts. It's very famous all over the world. There are countless dessert shops and cafes within a 500-meter radius. Many famous masters have set up shops here. It can be considered a first-class dessert battlefield. Rin Kiyono said. Where did you read it from? Miki Kujo asked with certainty. A mobile app guide. Rin Kiyono's indifferent tone had a hint of smugness after Miki Kujo guessed wrong. The two of them chatted as they left the bedroom. In front of the bedroom door, Miki Kujo turned around with a warm smile and said to Toru Watanabe, who had been diagnosed with schizophrenia by Dr. Kiyono, "Are you going to stay in the bedroom alone and lie on the bed to smell her remaining body fragrance? How could I do something so perverted? Then come out." Miki Kujo's expression changed from a smile to a cold one in half a second. Oh. Rin Kiyono covered her mouth elegantly and snickered as she enjoyed Toru Watanabe's expression after being scolded. These two are indeed sadists. Toru Watanabe became more and more certain as he looked at their backs. Toru Watanabe didn't think of himself as a masochist, but Miki Kujo was a sadist. Although Rin Kiyono wasn't that obvious, she also had the same tendency deep down in her heart. It was only because the person he loved was a sadist that he became like this in order to cooperate with them. What a great love. On the way to Freedom Hill, the two ladies chatted while Toru Watanabe thought about random things to pass the time. Freedom Hill was located at the junction of Setagaya District and Mukuro District. As the name suggested, it was a place with many rolling hills. Coupled with the winding river and the unique and small houses, the scenery was different from other places in Tokyo. It was very quiet and peaceful. Tokyo's Little Venice, Desert Forest, the kingdom of grocery stores, and the ideal place to live in District 23. These were the impressions that Freedom Hill gave people. What did you do last time? Miki Kujo asked Toru Watanabe as soon as they got out of the car. We walked around, drank milk tea, and sat on the bench under the cherry tree for a while. Very romantic. Miki Kujo sarcastically said but didn't say anything else. Since she allowed him to have two lovers and pretend that she didn't know about his children in the future, this wasn't a big deal. She also had her own plans. On September 9th next year, when the two of them turned 18 years old, she would immediately fill in the marriage class and have him move to Kamibocho or build a new villa. The wedding could be held after graduation. Graduating from high school or university was fine. The three of them strolled around the European-style streets. Along the way, they passed by one interesting store after another, but they weren't as eye-catching as them. The two of them didn't wear extravagant clothes, but they were always so decent and beautiful. They also inadvertently wore small and expensive accessories. Speaking of milk tea, have you tried it before? Toru Watanabe, who also attracted the attention of the girls around him, asked Rin Kiyono curiously. Rin Kiyono rubbed her chin and muttered, "From now on, you'll be on Saturdays. Otherwise, you'll be so narrow-minded that you'll think that I haven't even drunk milk tea before. Think about it carefully. The two of us haven't seen you outside of school, except for travel gatherings," Miki Kujo said. "You don't need to specifically emphasize the two of us." Rin Kiyono glanced at her. "Sorry, just now it was really out of habit." Miki Kujo couldn't help but smile, and naturally held Toru Watanabe's arm. She was already used to putting herself and Toru Watanabe together. Rin Kiyono stopped and looked at the two of them. "If you insist on being like this, I can only go back." Don't be angry, I'll also hold your arm." Miki Kujo stretched out her other hand and affectionately held Rin Kiyono's slender wrist. "Is this okay?" Miki Kujo asked. Rin Kiyono took a breath, sighed, and finally said, "Forget it." The three of them held hands and walked on the street, which became even more attractive. However, it was too troublesome to hold two people at the same time, so Miki Kujo left Toru Watanabe and only held Rin Kiyono's arm. Hey, Toru Watanabe was unhappy, as he completely regarded Miki Kujo as his own. Are you jealous?" Rin Kiyono said with a smile. "Good boy." Miki Kujo's slender and tender fingers traced Toru Watanabe's lips to his chin. "Sleep at my place tonight, big sister will compensate you." "You should have said so earlier, it's just a small matter, please continue." Actually, The sight of the two of them holding hands while standing together was already the greatest enjoyment for Toru Watanabe. One was elegant and refined, while the other was exquisite and beautiful. The two of them had elegant and seductive figures, and the voices that made people feel extremely comfortable or caused people to daydream, as well as the clever and cute movements and tone of voice that showed off their intelligence and cuteness. All of them were the epitome of perfection. The visual enjoyment was already very satisfying, but it was even more satisfying for the soul. The decoration of this shop is a bit Okinawan, and they seem to be selling goods from 100 to 60 years ago. A bunch of junk. What's with the retro style? How did you get obsessed with cleanliness? Obsessed? And a fussy personality. When it comes to fussing, you're much better than me. No, you're better than me in this aspect. We've arrived at the milk tea shop, and there's a lot of people lining up. Miki Kujo turned her head and ordered Toru Watanabe, "Line up." "Yes, yes, my young ladies." Looking at the two of them, Toru Watanabe said with a smile. The two of them seemed to be the same as before, where they would quarrel with a few words, but now there was a deep friendship between them. Toru Watanabe didn't know if love could replace friendship and satisfy people's needs for lovers and friends at the same time, but the scene in front of him made him feel that at least making the two of them reconcile was the right thing to do. "I've told you before, if you dare to laugh, I'll punish you." Miki Kujo's voice was cruel. Because of his laughter, the girls and women around Toru Watanabe were all stunned, just like the robot model in City in the Sky, in the Ghibli Art Gallery. "Your punishment is a reward," Rin Kiyono said. "What do you think?" Miki Kujo turned her face and looked at her. Rin Kiyono's usual right hand was held by Miki Kujo, so she had to use her left hand to support her beautiful curved chin. She pondered for a moment, then looked at Toru Watanabe and said with a smile, "Doesn't he like the witch costume?" Wait. Toru Watanabe had a bad feeling in his heart. Before she could finish, Rin Kiyono happily added, "I forgot in your words he likes to study costumes." She turned her head and said to Miki Kujo, "Let him wear the witch costume in the club classroom." Miki Kujo smiled and said to Toru Watanabe, "I won't listen to her." "Miki, my Miki." Toru Watanabe was sincerely touched. "You can wear the nurse costume." Miki Kujo said this sentence lightly. Toru Watanabe hesitated. "Or I'll wear the witch costume." At least the witch costume had pants, but the nurse costume had no pants. Wait a minute, does the nurse costume have pants or not? Choose for yourself. Listen to her or listen to me. Miki Kujo looked at Toru Watanabe with a smile. It was the same smile, but it had a different meaning. Toru Watanabe and Miki Kujo had nothing to say to each other, so he immediately understood what she meant. The witch costume did not follow the rule of she will wear whatever he wears, but the nurse costume did. Before he could figure out whether the nurse costume had pants or not, Miki Kujo, who was wearing a white and slender nurse costume, was already kneeling by the bed with one leg and helping him deal with it. Rin Kiyono knew the moment Toru Watanabe's expression changed. "If you can think about this on the street, then I don't have to worry about you not being interested in girls," she mocked. "Aha." Tetsumasa Watanabe straightened his face. "I'm going to line up for milk tea." Before he left, he winked at Mika Kujo in tacit understanding. Miki Kujo's delicate face was full of charm, and she deliberately looked back at him with a puzzled expression. It was a simple action, but it was inexplicably moving. Everyone who saw it would dream of it again in the future. When Toru Watanabe came back with 3 cups of milk tea, it was already 15 minutes later. The two of them sat on a wooden bench, and above them was a beautiful beech tree with luxuriant foliage. The bench was covered with the blue camping napkin that Rin Kiyono had put in her bag, and there was a cute little white cat at the corner. "Here." Toru Watanabe handed the milk tea to the two of them, and he sat down beside Miki Kujo. They were all pearl milk tea, and to avoid the, "let me have a sip of yours, and you have to have a sip of mine" scenario, the 3 of them slowly drank their milk tea. "It's very sweet," Rin Kiyono said. "This sweetness isn't authentic." Miki Kujo had always had a good sense of taste. "Really?" Rin Kiyono didn't taste it either. Listening to the two of them talking leisurely, Toru Watanabe raised his head. Through the swaying leaves of the beech tree, he could see the scattered blue sky. Try it. I don't know if it'll work. Pervert. A group of lively girls drew the attention of the three of them, and at the same time, attracted the attention of the three of them. Toru Watanabe looked over and saw a girl with an outstanding figure doing the pearl milk tea challenge. Put the cup of pearl milk tea on her chest and drink it. When he looked away, Miki Kujo was looking at Rin Kiyono with a smile. Although she didn't do the pearl milk tea challenge, her breasts, which were slightly larger than the average person's, were particularly eye-catching. Shallow. Rin Kiyono held the milk tea in her left hand and the straw in her right hand, looking straight ahead. Don't do such a boring thing. Toru Watanabe said to Miki Kujo, then changed the topic. Even if you want to do it, wait until we're back. It'll be just the two of us. You sure know how to think, Miki Kujo mocked. Let Aona Koizumi do it for you. Hers is the biggest. That sounds a little perverted. If you don't add the pearl milk tea challenge, Toru Watanabe said. The pearl milk tea challenge is perverted. Rin Kiyono's chest didn't rise or fall much even if she was angry. It was a very pitiful thing. After drinking the milk tea, they strolled around the various shops in Freedom Hill. Toru Watanabe wasn't interested in the rows upon rows of dessert shops. Instead, he was interested in the grocery stores. There were all kinds of utensils, potted plants, daily necessities, and other miscellaneous items from all over Japan. None of them were expensive, but they were all pleasing in their own way, making people unable to put them down. Toru Watanabe bought a set of cooking utensils, preparing to give them to Aona Koizumi. With good cooking utensils, the mood when cooking would also change. But that night, Toru Watanabe and Miki Kujo stayed at Kamibocho. At night, the two of them lay side by side. Miki Kujo waited for a while, then asked, "What's wrong with you?" Toru Watanabe's voice was drowsy, as if he was about to fall asleep. Miki Kujo turned her body, her back facing Toru Watanabe, wrapped herself in the quilt and fell asleep. After 10 minutes, she lifted her slender and smooth leg and kicked Toru Watanabe's butt. Ha ha ha. Toru Watanabe's laughter didn't have any trace of sleepiness. He moved his body forward, tightly hugging Miki Kujo's delicate and seductive body. Usually, I'm the one who takes the initiative, as if I'm the only one who wants it. Today is the first day I'm not taking the initiative, and you can't stand it? He whispered with a smile. I just find you annoying, you misunderstood. Miki Kujo hadn't finished her words when Toru Watanabe's lips pressed against her snow-white slender neck, his face buried in her collarbone. Sister. He whispered. Miki Kujo's voice became undulating, letting out a sweet and moving murmur. Chapter 345. The next morning, which was Sunday morning, Toru Watanabe finished his run and went back to sleep. As soon as he lay down, Miki Kujo came over and hugged him like a koala. After a while, she climbed on top of him. She hugged Toru Watanabe's neck tightly. Her soft and smooth face was close to Toru Watanabe's face. Her terrible sleeping posture, and the love she showed to Toru Watanabe was completely different from the usual Miki Kujo when she was awake. Every time Toru Watanabe talked to her about this, she would sneer and say, "Don't blame me for what I did when I was asleep." If Toru Watanabe continued, her eyes would say, "Know your place if you don't want to die." Miki Kujo lay on his body, and his hands were on her small waist. His hands would occasionally go up and caress her back intimately. Occasionally, they would go down and greedily knead her white and plump buttocks. The two of them fell asleep just like that. At 9 o'clock, Miki Kujo woke up. Her eyes were still closed, and she enjoyed the comfort of the two of them together. Someone asked me to say something to you. Toru Watanabe said in her ear. Toru Watanabe thinks that Miki Kujo is too cute. Someone also asked me to say something to you. Miki Kujo said. Toru Watanabe is too happy to be with Miki Kujo. That kid has always had good taste. Toru Watanabe praised. Miki Kujo hugged him tighter. Che. Say you love me. I love you. Who loves who? Toru Watanabe loves Miki Kujo. How much does Toru Watanabe love Miki Kujo? On a sunny Sunday, I was fishing at the docks of the arena, but I couldn't catch a single fish after a long time. I was bored and watching the yachts coming and going in Tokyo Bay to pass the time. Suddenly, a beautiful lady came. She put her hands on the railing and didn't say a word. She watched the sea with me the whole afternoon. Toru Watanabe loves Miki Kujo so much. Is this your real experience? If you went to the pier on a sunny Sunday afternoon and watched the sea with Toru Watanabe for the whole afternoon, then it's true. If you didn't go there, then it's not true. Miki Kujo made a sound of satisfaction and rubbed her face against Toru Watanabe's. Toru Watanabe hugged Miki Kujo's waist and put his face closer to her. Between their faces, there were a few strands of Miki Kujo's hair, and it tickled. Miki. Miki. I want you. Toru Watanabe moved forward greedily, and Miki Kujo welcomed him with her back straightened. Miki Kujo's body made Toru Watanabe forget to leave, and he loved it so much that he couldn't put it down. Miki Kujo would always let out a wonderful moan or sigh when Toru Watanabe lingered. At 10 o'clock, the two of them slept again and only woke up slowly in the afternoon. It might be a little late to say it now, but that was Toru Watanabe and Miki Kujo's Sunday morning. It had always been like this, and it would be like this in the future. After lunch, the two went to Shimike's, where Rin Kiyono was already waiting. Too slow, she said. I think it's basic etiquette to arrive at the meeting place 5 minutes early. Miki Kujo hugged her elbows with both hands, and at this time, she poked Toru Watanabe with her left elbow. She said, "You're not human. Stupid old human. I've already evolved and become the god of the new world." Toru Watanabe put his hands in his pockets, and at this time his insufferably arrogant temperament was displayed. "What's with the look in your eyes?" He took his hands out of his trouser pockets again. "It's about time for you to graduate from Chinibu." Rin Kiyono maintained a sympathetic expression. "Now you even know about Chinibu, you've fallen. Please say that my knowledge is broader." Rin Kiyono used a superior attitude to point out Toru Watanabe's mistakes. "Okay, let's go." Miki Kujo interrupted the two's argument. Shimike's was denser than Ginza, more down-to-earth than Roppongi, and livelier than humanoid Cho. There were antique shops, cosmetic shops, snack bars, ramen shops, izakaya, and everything else. The roads were narrow, the sky was clear, and the sun shone on the rows of shops. Occasionally, a crow would fly over and land on a certain electric wire, making the autumn seem even more distant. After a few steps, Rin Kiyono looked at Miki Kujo. "What's wrong?" Miki Kujo asked. She said, "Why aren't you holding my hand today?" Rin Kiyono translated for Toru Watanabe. Rin Kiyono gave him a dissatisfied glare and said to Miki Kujo, "Why aren't you deliberately acting intimate with him today? I held your hand yesterday, so today it's your turn to hold mine." Miki Kujo slightly opened her left arm. "Come. I'm asking you," Rin Kiyono said word by word. "Why aren't you deliberately acting intimate with Watanabe-san in front of me?" Toru Watanabe took 2 steps forward, picked up Rin Kiyono's slender wrist, and put her snow-white hand on Miki Kujo's wrist. Rin Kiyono immediately glared at him. If this stalemate continues, the onlookers will think that we're filming a movie. Toru Watanabe opened his hand and let her look at the crowd that was watching them. Rin Kiyono coldly stared at Toru Watanabe. Most people would be frightened, but Miki Kujo and Toru Watanabe didn't take it to heart at all. Instead, they found it funny. She didn't let go of Miki Kujo's hand. "I'll go back and teach him a lesson." Miki Kujo comforted Rin Kiyono, and then said to Toru Watanabe sarcastically, "Don't be so full of yourself." Those who had only seen Miki Kujo during the day might think that Toru Watanabe was having a hard time. Only Toru Watanabe, who had seen Miki Kujo during the night, knew the real Miki Kujo and how happy he was. Just like that, Miki Kujo was holding Rin Kiyono's arm yesterday, and today, Rin Kiyono was holding Miki Kujo's arm. The two of them were holding hands, but they didn't look like a lovey-dovey couple, nor did they look like lively girls who were tightly clinging to each other. Their postures were very elegant, and there was a certain distance between their bodies. Shimokitazawa was a street that was suitable for artistic youths. Toru Watanabe had accompanied Aona Koizumi and the other two girls here before, and they bought some vintage clothes. Miki Kujo was the least interested in vintage clothes. Rin Kiyono didn't care about vintage clothes, as long as they suited her aesthetic. As for Toru Watanabe, "There's a sticker here," he said. Whether it was the intricate wires or the sticker machines on the streets, they were almost invisible in his previous life, but they were very popular in Japan. "I've never used it before." Rin Kiyono looked at the machine curiously. Who would take a sticker by themselves? "Let's try it." Miki Kujio walked over, and Seino Rei, who was holding her arm, naturally followed her. Toru Watanabe opened the curtains for the two ladies. Rin Kiyono looked at the machine and the strange photos displayed on it. "What should I choose?" Toru Watanabe asked, but he had already chosen a large pink heart with various small stickers. Rin Kiyono looked at herself in the big picture, and her lips were inexplicably red, and there were shy icons on both sides of her cheeks. "I see," she muttered to herself like a researcher. 5 consecutive shots. Hurry up and pose. Toru Watanabe reminded her. 5 consecutive shots? What pose? The first one, Rin Kiyono asked, and Toru Watanabe pulled Miki Kujo's face left and right. The second one. Rin Kiyono was stunned, and Miki Kujo had a murderous look on her face as she reached out to Toru Watanabe. The third one. Rin Kiyono was still stunned, and Toru Watanabe avoided Miki Kujo. The fourth one. Rin Kiyono calmed down, and Toru Watanabe hid behind her, and Miki Kujo put her hand on Rin Kiyono's shoulder. The fifth one. Rin Kiyono was pushed away by Miki Kujo, and Toru Watanabe's face was pinched by Miki Kujo. The three of them came out of the photo machine, looked at the photos in their hands, looked at each other, and laughed at the same time. After dinner, they sent Rin Kiyono back to her apartment, and then returned to Kamibocho. "How are you and Rin?" Miki Kujo sat by the back window with her legs crossed. "Same as always." Toru Watanabe looked out of the window. It was dark in the night, and there were only a few useless street lamps. "Haven't you talked to her?" "Not yet," Toru Watanabe said. "You two just made up, and if I talk about this, won't you two fight again?" "What are you going to do?" Miki Kujo asked. "Wait a little longer." The car drove along the street lamps, and when they reached the main road, there were more lights. "Do you have a way to get her?" Miki Kujo asked curiously. "What can I do? I'll find a chance to tell her my feelings. That's it." Miki Kujo looked disgusted, as if she had a better way than Toru Watanabe. "I think it's a good idea to be completely honest with an honest person. What if she says, 'I'll allow you to maintain your current relationship, but you have to date me'?" Toru Watanabe got up and sat next to Miki Kujo, where Rin Kiyono was sitting just now. "Don't worry." He held Miki Kujo's hand. Miki Kujo looked at him with a smile and said, "I believe in your responsibility." Toru Watanabe laughed and tickled her waist. "Vixen bad woman." Miki Kujo was ticklish, but she didn't escape. Instead, she smiled and leaned into Toru Watanabe's arms. Toru Watanabe stopped and looked at her in his arms. Her delicate little face was red because of her smile just now. Miki Kujo looked up and raised her finger in Toru Watanabe's arms to touch his lips. Looking at Miki Kujo, who suddenly looked a little childish, Toru Watanabe couldn't help but take her hand away and kiss her soft lips. The car started to speed up, and the night view of East Kyoto outside the window became colorful. On Monday, Toru Watanabe was holding Rin Kiyono's homework in his hand, and was doing homework for himself and Miki Kujo. Aoi Ichiki curiously turned around and looked at Miki Kujo and Rin Kiyono. Miki Kujo buried her head in sleep, and her face was facing the window. Aoi Ichiki couldn't see clearly, so she could only stare at Rin Kiyono. She had a head of long black hair, slender fingers holding the book, and a small white face like a peeled egg. Itsuki classmate. Rin Kiyono looked up from her book. She was a person who paid attention to etiquette, so she would only look at other people when talking to Toru Watanabe and Miki Kujo. "Oh, sorry." Aoi Ichiki apologized with a red face. At first, she was just curious because she heard from the people in the music club that someone saw the three of them shopping together. Of course, Aoi Ichiki, who knew the inside story, wasn't surprised. What was strange was that Rin Kiyono and Miki Kujo were holding hands. But because of her curiosity, she was obsessed with Rin Kiyono's beauty. "What's the matter?" Rin Kiyono asked. "There is indeed something." Aoi Ichiki turned around and faced Rin Kiyono. Rin Kiyono frowned slightly. She didn't like to be so close to people. The distance of a desk. "It's like this." Aoi Ichiki didn't notice it at all. It's already October, and the national competition is at the end of the month. There's also the sports festival to prepare for, so there's not much time left. So I want to ask Kiyono classmate to continue teaching us. Rin Kiyono closed her book and put her slender fingers on her chin. She pondered for a moment and said, "Because I have an appointment on Sunday, I can only go for one day of the weekend." "That's enough, that's enough." Aoi Ichiki nodded quickly. "It's finally done. There's so much homework for the weekend." Toru Watanabe finally finished the homework for two people. Qingyi Rin looked over, and a smile naturally appeared on his face. She said in a half-mocking, half-commanding tone, "From now on, we'll study together in the morning on the weekend." On behalf of the entire Watanabe family, I agree with Counselor Kiyono's suggestion. Toru Watanabe returned the homework to her and said softly to Miki Kujo, "Counselor Kujo, do you have any objections?" They waited quietly for a while. Counselor Kujo didn't have any objections. She didn't wake up. Miki Kujo found out about this during the third period of art class. "Today we'll be sketching an oak tree. Everyone, take your tools and go to the school gate together." The art teacher walked in and immediately announced, "Great. Hey, can't we do it in the art classroom? I don't want to run around." Some people wanted to go while others didn't, but they all took Kent paper, sketching pens, and ink and walked to the oak tree near Kamigawa's school gate. The oak tree was planted since the school was founded. It was said that it was just a seed at that time, but now it had a beautiful shape and a huge canopy. There were 40 people in the second-year class 4, so they could all sit under the shade of the tree. "Miki," Toru Watanabe said. "Kiyono classmate said that from now on, she'll be guiding the playing department on Saturdays. On Sunday mornings, the three of us will study together and go out to play in the afternoon." "Okay." Miki Kujo didn't comment. She dipped the tip of her pen in some ink and began to draw. The sun was good today. Occasionally, it shone through the gaps between the trees and made the white paper shine. Toru Watanabe was an idiot. He only knew how to draw, so he didn't know how to draw seriously because he tried but he still couldn't do it. Toru Watanabe looked at Miki Kujo for a while. His pen moved smoothly on the paper. Although it was just the beginning, from the smoothness of the lines and the calmness of her posture, he knew that she was good. Toru Watanabe then looked at Rin Kiyono, wanting to compare their skills. She also looked good but not as good as Miki Kujo. But Toru Watanabe's gaze moved down and fell on the two legs that stretched out from the pleated skirt. She didn't wear stockings today. She wore white stockings that were above her ankles and 1/3 of the way up her calves. Her skin was delicate, like two scallions with their leaves peeled off. The lines were beautiful and the shape was round. Toru Watanabe had never seen such beautiful legs. If you want to draw a good sketch, every stroke is important. Watanabe-san, please continue. The art teacher suddenly called out Seiji's name. Because there's no time to make changes. If there's a mistake, the whole work will be ruined. Toru Watanabe's reaction was very quick, and his brain was very smart. Okay. The art teacher continued. When she got tired, she took out a bottle and took a sip, then returned to her armpit. Rin Kiyono looked up and glanced at Toru Watanabe. "How long are you going to look?" Toru Watanabe looked back at her. "I'm learning how to draw." Rin Kiyono looked down and looked at her legs, then looked at Toru Watanabe. "Do you want me to expose you?" Toru Watanabe looked at her legs, then looked at her again. "No, but I want to look." Seino Rin turned his gaze towards the Kujio Miyoshi, and Toru Watanabe hurriedly retracted his gaze and started writing furiously. After a while he said, "It's done." He raised the paper and said in an intoxicated tone, The lines of the tree trunk are perfect. I'm very satisfied. Miki Kujo looked up and sneered. It's not nice. Toru Watanabe looked at her as if she had no taste. It's nice. Miki Kujo smiled and nodded. Toru Watanabe's drawing. Have you ever seen a kindergarten kid drawing a book? It's the kind that uses wavy lines to draw the tree crown. Give it to me. Miki Kujo waved her hand. Toru Watanabe handed her the drawing paper. Even if it's just a casual drawing, it'll be different with X-ray vision. She changed the drawing. Do you know X-ray vision? I definitely don't have that ability. Even if I did, I wouldn't use it for drawing. Forget it. Miki Kujo now had the attitude of a female artist. I hope that my future child will inherit my artistic talent. I think that makes sense. Toru Watanabe agreed. Chapter 346. She received an unprecedented grade of B for her art class. Thank you, Miki-sama. During lunch at the club's classroom, Toru Watanabe respectfully poured Miki Kujo a glass of juice. Are you that happy about cheating? Rin Kiyono, who easily received an A, couldn't help but ask. What's mine is Watanabe's. Miki Kujo smiled and took a sip of juice. I like this sentence. I'm going to write it down in my diary. Speaking of diaries, Toru Watanabe suddenly remembered that his first diary was still with Rin Kiyono. He looked at Rin Kiyono with an expression that said, "It's about time you return it to me." Rin Kiyono put the green broccoli into her cherry blossom-colored mouth and looked out the window. She didn't look at Toru Watanabe. It was October, and the wind was blowing from the south. The white curtains swayed, and Rin Kiyono's beautiful black hair swayed gently. When she tucked a few strands of hair behind her ear, Toru Watanabe seemed to see pink cherry blossom petals floating in from the window. Every time he stared at Rin Kiyono, a sacred feeling would emerge from the bottom of his heart. He turned to look at Miki Kujo, who was sitting next to him. The sacred feeling was replaced by sweetness, and he had an impulse to agree to anything she wanted. Toru Watanabe is really a scumbag. Toru Watanabe, who was once again convinced that he loved more than one person, commented himself. After lunch, Miki Kujo slept, Rin Kiyono read, and Toru Watanabe took Miki Kujo's tablet to draw. You're so obedient. Rin Kiyono looked past the book and looked at Toru Watanabe. My goal is to get a B before graduation. Graduate from university? Stop looking down on me. Rin Kiyono chuckled, and Toru Watanabe also smiled. Although she still didn't know how to lie, Rin Kiyono already knew how to joke. Toru Watanabe drew the human observation department at noon. The three of them would eventually leave this place, and the observation department would eventually disappear, but this classroom would still be blown by the southern wind. After the afternoon activities, Toru Watanabe returned Rin Kiyono's club key. It's Watanabe's turn today. Where's Kiyono, classmate? Seeing Toru Watanabe, Aona Koizumi immediately smiled. He went back with Miki. Toru Watanabe handed her the key. Aona Koizumi's hand left the keyboard and hung the key on the wall. Watanabe, come over here. I have something good to eat for you. Huangzi waved at Toru Watanabe like a cat calling for a mouse to watch fireworks. As the school doctor, Miyazaki Miyuki was the last to leave school, so the other two stayed in the office to grade homework or prepare lesson plans while waiting for her. When Toru Watanabe walked over, Huangzi handed him a pen and reference notes. That's all. Good luck. Where's the food? Toru Watanabe picked up his pen. Huangzi squatted by his feet, opened a drawer, and took out a packet of candy. This, she said, is carbonated candy that I bought. It's super delicious. Try it. Toru Watanabe ate a candy, and his face scrunched up from the sourness. Huangzi slapped the back of her chair and laughed loudly. Aona Koizumi smiled and handed her glass of water to Toru Watanabe. Huangzi-sensei. Toru Watanabe took a sip of water, and his expression finally looked less pained. Did you know? I hate liars the most. Haha, sorry. Here, it's sweet. Huangzi took another candy. Toru Watanabe reached out to take it, but Aona Koizumi reminded him, it's still sour. Ha ha ha. Huangzi laughed even harder. With inhuman speed, Toru Watanabe took the candy from her hand and threw it into her mouth. Huangzi narrowed her eyes, then covered her mouth and squatted on the ground as if she was about to vomit after drinking too much. It's quite interesting to make such a pose while wearing a teacher's uniform, Toru Watanabe thought to himself. Aona Koizumi picked up Huangzi's glass of water and handed it to her with a smile. You've finally gotten your retribution after pranking me for the whole day. Huangzi gulped water into his mouth. After the farce, Huangzi finally calmed down. He took out some potato chips from another drawer and started munching on them. Where did you go over the weekend? Aona Koizumi asked Toru Watanabe as she organized her documents. I went to BI's and walked around Chazawa Street. What did you buy? Huangzi fed Aona Koizumi a potato chip and asked Toru Watanabe to take one for himself. I didn't buy anything. I ate shaved ice. Now that you mention it, I want to eat it again. The shaved ice in that shop is smoother than other shops, and the fruits are especially delicious. Mango, white peach, blackcurrant. Blackcurrant isn't a fruit, right? Toru Watanabe said as he marked his homework. You're so long-winded. It's good that you know what it means, Huangzi said. But why didn't you buy anything else when you went so far? It doesn't suit their taste. Although the lower North Lake was a rather famous tourist attraction, it seemed to lack development. This might be a style, or it might really have stopped development. If the French cuisine in Ginza and Aoyama was authentic, and the French cuisine in Liberty Hill was undeserved, then the French cuisine in BI's was still below Liberty Hill. BI's was probably such a place. It wasn't that BI's wasn't good, but everyone had their own preferences. Just like octopus balls, Toru Watanabe liked the taste of one that was sold on the street for 10 yuan. As expected of a young lady, Huangzi said enviously. Where did you go? Toru Watanabe asked. The four of us went to Ueno Zoo to see pandas. Mayasahi had already integrated into the trio. The three teachers knew about Mayasahi's situation and took care of her as her elder sisters. Mayasahi didn't care about the outside world, so she ignored the friendship between the three of them since childhood, and the fact that the three of them used to be her teachers. They could get along with each other as friends. Do you have any plans for Culture Day? Toru Watanabe asked again. Culture Day was the day when Japan commemorated the promulgation of the Constitution. There would be a day off. Including last Saturday and Sunday, there would be a total of 3 days. Not at the moment. Aona Koizumi thought for a while. Maybe I'll travel around Tokyo. Or maybe I'll stay at home and sleep. If you want to travel, how about going to Kobe? I'll go too. Toru Watanabe turned to look at Aona Koizumi. Aona Koizumi also turned her head and looked at him with surprise and joy. Because Huangzi had already taken the potato chips, she could only use her elbow to touch Toru Watanabe's shoulder. She lectured him. Do you know where Kobe is? Aonai-sensei's hometown. Toru Watanabe's voice carried a smile. Huangzi was stunned. Then she looked back and forth between Aona Koizumi and Toru Watanabe. She let out a ha, and suddenly realized. So you're planning to go back to see your parents? Toru Watanabe nodded and said, We'll go to Kobe on Culture Day. Aonai-sensei will go back to Iwate Prefecture with me during the new year? What do you think? He looked at Aona Koizumi and asked. Let's talk about it when we get back. Aona Koizumi pretended to be calm. She couldn't concentrate on the following work. Toru Watanabe was willing to go back with her to see her parents. He even wanted to take her to see her parents. This made her extremely excited and sweet. Then she ran out of worry. Could Watanabe really pretend to be 25 or 26 years old? What if he saw through it? His sensei was the same generation as his parents, and his girlfriend was a generation younger than his parents. What was he going to do when he went to Iwate Prefecture for the new year? She couldn't hear a single word of Toru Watanabe and Huangzi's conversation. There was no progress at all in her work. When they returned to the apartment at night, everyone discussed this matter during dinner. Che. Mayasahi looked at Toru Watanabe. I want to go too. Of course Iwate Prefecture is no problem. Kobe. Toru Watanabe hesitated. He loved my Asahi the most. Every time he thought about how she was pregnant alone, he felt uneasy. But if he went back to Kobe with Aona Koizumi as her boyfriend, it wouldn't be appropriate to bring my Asahi with him. One day in the future, Toru Watanabe would definitely go with my Asahi to see her parents who had already cut ties with her. At that time they wouldn't bring anyone else. Watanabe, Aona Koizumi said hesitantly. Let's wait until you graduate. Then, she hurriedly explained. It's not that I don't want to, but because this matter is very, very important, I want to wait a little longer. Even if I have to wait until you graduate, I'll only be at ease if my parents don't see through it. I don't want our relationship to be affected by our parents because of this matter. Huangzi's shoulders shook as if she felt cold. Of course, no problem. It's up to you, sensei. Toru Watanabe had no objections. He didn't have any worries or guesses like, could it be that sensei is just playing with me and doesn't intend to be serious with me? Aona Koizumi could still work hard for 10 years to come to Tokyo even if she forgot about him. Toru Watanabe himself couldn't guarantee whether he could do this for Miki Kujo and Rin Kiyono because it hadn't happened yet. How could he doubt this relationship? Aona Koizumi heaved a sigh of relief. The surprise and worry that had been tangled in her heart were all swept away. This isn't bad either, Miyazaki said. But I can understand that the young man wants to prove his love for Aona and give her a sense of security. What nonsense! Aona Koizumi said shyly. What sense of security is there in meeting your parents? There are even cases of divorce after marriage. Giving money gives you the most sense of security, Huangzi said. These words were realistic and might be annoying, but this was Huangzi's way of showing concern for Aona Koizumi. How many people were willing to say annoying things for others, even if they were friends? After hearing Huangzi's words, Toru Watanabe was even happier. Sure, how much do you want? He said with a smile. Watanabe, Aona Koizumi shouted. Don't listen to her nonsense. I have a job. Why would I want your money? After saying that, she hurriedly apologized to my Asahi. It wasn't that it wasn't good for her to take Toru Watanabe's money. She would also take it in the future, but right now, it was her teacher who was waiting. My Asahi didn't care about this at all. She ate and occasionally looked at Toru Watanabe with her calm and clear eyes. For my Asahi, this was more important than anything else. Aona-sensei, don't say any more. Toru Watanabe interrupted her. You don't want to take my money because you believe that I won't let you down. Since that's the case, it shouldn't be a problem for you to accept my money. That sounds good. Huangzi nodded. Aona, since the young man insists, just accept a little. Just keep it for him. Miyazaki Miyuki also joined in the persuasion. Aona Koizumi pursed her lips and thought for a while before reluctantly nodding. Okay. How much? Toru Watanabe asked with a smile. How much did Watanabe give you? Huangzi immediately asked my Asahi. My Asahi tilted her head and thought for a while. 500 million. And the rest? Huangzi winked. Huangzi. Aona Koizumi was so shy that she wanted to completely lower her head. The four of them had been together for several months. How could they not know what Toru Watanabe gave my Asahi? Apartment 602 double read, furniture, clothes. Enough. That's enough. Huangzi was really afraid that my Asahi would even mention the family planning products. She turned to look at Toru Watanabe. She didn't say anything, but everyone understood what she meant. She couldn't be biased. Then 500 million by apartment 501 and a car? Toru Watanabe asked. No. Huangzi was the one who refused. Don't buy this apartment. I don't live in your place. Buy the apartment you're living in now and give it to Aona. You can live there in the future. Toru Watanabe looked at Aona Koizumi. Forget about the car. Aona Koizumi accepted reality. I'll keep the money for you. Just ask me when you need it. Okay. Toru Watanabe smiled. Actually, he gave my Asahi half of what he had. However, if he gave 50 billion all at once, even Huangzi wouldn't dare to let Aona Koizumi accept it, let alone Aona Koizumi. Satisfying them was the most important thing. Giving them more or less was just a minor detail. If he only gave them 500 million and deducted the money to buy the apartment, his savings would still be over 100 billion. If one day Rin Kiyono really wanted to confiscate it, he would just give it all to her. Toru Watanabe wasn't interested in money. He had hands and feet, and he was studying more and more. Even if he ran out of money, he could go back to his old profession, holding a bulletin board or working in a convenience store. In the future, he could rely on his own efforts to earn money. Ooh. Huangzi suddenly jumped into Miyazaki Miyuki's arms and buried her face in her huge breasts. What are you doing? Eat properly. Miyazaki Miyuki grabbed Huangzi's head and wanted to take it away, but Huangzi buried her face in it. Aona is gone. Miyuki, you can't abandon me. Let me buy an apartment alone and spend my life on it. I will continue to save money with you guys. Aona Koizumi was in a good mood. She shouted like a young girl. Watanabe won't be living here all the time. I will still be living with you guys most of the time. Stop talking, you despicable rich lady. Huangzi hugged Miyazaki Miyuki's waist and rested her head on her chest. She said to Aona Koizumi with a face full of hatred for the rich. Well, don't abandon me. Aona Koizumi hugged Huangzi's waist. Well, don't abandon me too. Toru Watanabe took the opportunity to hug Aona Koizumi's waist. Her slender waist, the fragrance of the shower gel, and the warm breath. Mayasahi stared at Toru Watanabe for a while, then put down her chopsticks. Woo-woo, don't abandon me, she said with the most emotionless voice and hugged him at the same time. The five of them turned into centipedes. Miyazaki Miyuki, who was the head of the centipede, had a helpless expression. Can you guys eat properly? Haha. Everyone laughed. Stop fooling around, Huangzi said. By the way, since we're not going back to Kobe, where should we go for the culture day? Aona Koizumi asked expectantly. November. Miyazaki Miyuki thought for a while. The maple leaves go from Beihong to the south. We can go to Hokkaido to soak in the hot springs and see the maple leaves. What about Mai? Is there anywhere you want to go? Aona Koizumi asked. Mayasahi looked at Toru Watanabe. Toru? Sure. Toru Watanabe said. Senpai Mai, is there anywhere you want to go? I'll go wherever Toru goes. Mayasahi's tone was as cold as ever. Aona Koizumi and the other two were not jealous. Instead, they liked Mayasahi even more and really treated her like a younger sister. What about Watanabe? Aona Koizumi asked Toru Watanabe. Let's go to Hokkaido, Toru Watanabe said firmly. We agreed to go to Hokkaido to see the flowers in Furano, but we didn't manage to go. This time, we have to go and see the flowers instead of the red leaves. A gentle and sweet smile appeared on Aona Koizumi's beautiful oval face. When she heard Miyazaki Miyuki mention Hokkaido, she also remembered this matter and immediately decided to go to Hokkaido. However, she had a gentle personality, and most importantly, she liked Toru Watanabe very much. If Toru Watanabe said to go to other places, she would agree. Toru Watanabe, however, was the same as her. He remembered their agreement to go to Hokkaido together, which made her indescribably happy. Then let's start making a strategy, she said with a smile. It's only October now. The cultural day is November 3rd. It's still early, Huangzi said. How can you be like this? I really want to soak in the hot spring. Aona Koizumi sighed like a little girl. You only want to soak in the hot spring? Miyazaki Miyuki teased. Of course I want to soak in the hot spring, but with Watanabe. Huangzi followed suit. You guys Aona Koizumi blushed. Che, I want to soak in the hot spring with you too, Mayasahi said to Toru Watanabe. You don't have to say this. Can't you just find a chance secretly? Toru Watanabe decided to have a good chat with Mayasahi tonight. So this is the legendary 3. Before he could finish his sentence, Huangzi's mouth was covered by Aona Koizumi. This kind of thing could only be imagined in his heart. However, Toru Watanabe believed that people should have dreams. If one day in the future, the two of them pitted him, his dream might come true. The days were still long. More and more beautiful things were waiting for them in the bright future. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.